Hello and welcome to the Nen Show Podcast, the only podcast that's expecting a 4-hour episode because we fucked up in dividing the chapters. And holy fuck, you guys left a lot of comments last time. Like, a lot. There were a few chains, but you told me before the podcast that it was the most any single episode has gotten, right?
Yep, even more than the first episode. This was the biggest.
Yeah, oh yeah, the first episode had the advantage of, like, way more views considering it was on your main channel. So that means it got even more comments than on the Chunin Exams Part 1, which was also on the main channel. So,
well, no, I'm, like, this had even more than the first episode, which
Oh, more than the first episode. I heard not... Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so I thought that was especially noteworthy considering, you know, the big, the jump in views comparatively.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Cool.
Like, I think the last one is still the least viewed by you know, because it only has, like, 700. But okay, that's pretty cool.
Although I think part of the reason why we got so many comments was because we may have fucked up a little bit.
There were a lot of chains of comments, yes. Well, okay, let's just get to the big one, because, the thing happened again where we go on about something and then we read the next stretch of chapters and it's like, oh, that's, cause the thing is that, yes, we haven't engaged in Naruto before, but like, especially now we're at the point where like, I haven't read these chapters in 10 years and you barely, you have trouble remembering, like, you remember the big points mostly, but there's a lot of nuance to things, or the little details that, yeah, cause, so basically, our best and worst commenter, Sasuke Shoto fan, I say best because he leaves some good points, I say worst because, holy fuck, too many words, I'm sitting here trying to read through these fucking comments before we start the podcast, and I'm like, I should have done it yesterday, but, it's a lot of reading. So yeah, basically he had a lot of points for the Sasuke Deidara fight. You actually responded to him, so do you want to continue, or?
Well, yeah, he just made a lot of... There was a lot... I know for me, the big issue I had with understanding Sasuke's powers was, like, the whole concept of the way, like, Orochimaru was absorbed, I didn't fully grasp what that entailed in, like,
right, it was really
vague.
vague.
You know, what kind of powers he would get or whatever, but, yeah, this guy goes through and he's got, like, a list of... I mean, he, like, breaks things down, like, point by point, like, this is why Sasuke is, like, his speed isn't a problem, like, this is why he can do that. Because there's just, like, a lot of, I guess, context going off of, like, stuff Sasuke has done previously, because he's a super fast dude. And
yes,
also...
and he had some points that I didn't think about, but, well, one thing about the speed in particular is, like, how do you, like, the thing about conveying speed is you have to, like, how should I put this? In order to show speed, you have to show them moving so fast you don't see what happened. So the way you convey this is by not conveying, like, you have to show less information. So there's an understandable vagueness about it. Like, how it's usually done, like, you know, superhero stuff is they'll slow everything else down so that you see more. So, yeah, I can kind of see, like, I can see why, yeah, I didn't pick on some of those things. But the one thing that I think he overlooked a bit, like, not that it undermines much, but he says reading comprehension, but there's the bit where Sasuke is, like, clearly scared as he's covered in light from the explosion, which this is almost a trademark of Kishimoto's, you know, he loves his fake outs, even if they don't make sense, because, like, okay, so Sasuke has a Sharingan, he should be able to, well, he turned it off, because, you know, even though, sure.
Yeah, because there was a specific point, like, he turns it off and Deidara comments on it like, oh, you don't see me as a threat, you retracted your Sharingan. So it was like Sasuke was done.
Yeah, and Sasuke looked scared even though he had a backup that worked perfectly fine. So, again, it's narrative cheating, almost. Like, Sasuke doesn't really have a reason to be scared because he had an out, he had a plan with summoning Manda and stuff. Though, again, like, sure, okay, I can buy that he could summon Manda now, but... You know, now knowing the shit about Orochimaru, I didn't.
Yeah, the stuff that pops up in this arc in particular, like where Sasuke actually, like when he starts fighting Itachi, then you kind of really, it gives more context into like what exactly absorbing Orochimaru means.
See, yeah, that's the thing, and it's like, yes, the Sasuke versus Deidara stuff makes much more sense in retrospect, but it also kind of requires that retrospect because so little is fleshed out in between, you know, Sasuke absorbing Orochimaru and the Sasuke Deidara fight, and even some of this, a little bit of the stuff after, like but so.
I mean, yeah, I do think that's okay to an extent because like it is a story you're supposed to like read it all. So like building things up, keeping a little bit of mystery involved, I don't think is a huge problem. But I guess like if you're viewing it like like how we did it, where we're going through like
Yeah.
arc by arc or whatever, or even if like you were reading it weekly, I could definitely see how there would be some issues there, because it does seem a little. I mean, like,
And
especially
the other thing is
like
that
we
we're
messed
limited.
up.
The discussion is limited to just us and the commenters retroactively. Like, we can't bring them in the show, you know? So we're, like, I'm not going back and reading other discussion on Naruto, you know, before we do this. I read the chapters and then I talk to you about it. And then I read chapters, I read the comments on the last episode and then I talk to you about it. Yeah, so it's not like, this is about us discussing Naruto, not about, like, if you want, like, maybe one day there will be a Naruto dissection like Mr. Fusion does. Wink, wink, Mathwas, wink. So I think I think I was still talking about something. But yeah, it's like there's the Sasuke being scared and then Karen like shitting on Sasuke for not being good enough at fighting two Akatsuki members. Like,
yeah,
these are things that make they undercut his, like, what he's actually doing, so it feels counteractive to what's actually going on. So again, it's just Kishimoto trying to maintain tension where he needs to, but he can't, you know, so I said he wrote himself into a corner with Sasuke versus Deidara. Retrospect, not so much. But I still think he wrote himself into a different corner than the one I was complaining about. Like, that time I think, Sasuke should have lost this fight, but he had to win. But instead now it's like, well, he had to keep tension, but he had trouble keeping the tension. Like, if he just had Sasuke be as strong as he is, like, as he is when he fights Itachi, then Deidara would be a joke. But he had to make the fight feel important so as to not make an Akatsuki member look like a joke. So, yeah. So, still not perfect, but definitely better than I thought. Oh, and I think, or did I say that? Like, he didn't need to summon Manda. It literally could have been any snake that could have swallowed him, just throwing that out there. But I feel like,
I
it's
think
fun.
what someone had responded with was, like, because of the, like, how big the blast was, like, it really only could have been Manda who absorbed it, because, like, if it was a lesser snake, then they would have just gotten blown up and Sasuke be dead.
Maybe. I mean, with the size of that explosion, I'm not sure if the size of the snake would make that big of a difference, but sure. Okay. Oh yeah, speaking of Manda, it was pointed out that, Manda is now my husbando because I was so distraught about his death. I also ship Manda x Gamabunta, my two favorite characters.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, did you have any comments? Cause I was about to keep going, but,
there was a comment from Mitch194 asking, do you pick a certain amount of time every week to sit down and read the chapters, or do you just pick up and read when you have the time? For me, it's kind of like a bit of, like, usually it's the latter. Usually I just read when I have the time, but often what ends up happening is I'll just sit down and, like, marathon read the whole chapters, because I'll either put it off for too long or...
Yeah.
See, because, like, this week I had planned to read it over the stretch of, like, 3 days, and then things happened, and so then I was like, well, shoot, I gotta marathon it all last night. And
yeah, 70 chapters, like 8 volumes, or no, 7 volumes or so. Or 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's about 7 volumes, so that was fun. I bet that was fun. And how I do it is I usually just say, I'm gonna read it this day, and then I try to read it maybe, and then I note the stuff down. Like, I keep notes on everything. Like, time I have something interesting or something I pay attention to, I just, like, write it down. I have, like, dozens of Word documents of, like, everything I've engaged with since starting my channel almost. So, I take notes, but, not that they're enough all the time. And I don't actually, like, I don't read them while on the podcast. Like, I have them open, but I'm probably not going to read any of these just because, I'm glad I read that one because that one was good. I might use that later. Yeah, we read it when we can. Usually the week of, like, for me. Like, I usually set it so that I'll try to read it Monday or Tuesday so we can record on Thursday or Friday. So, just so I'm not, like, up to the wire. So if something happens, I can, I won't be reading it the day before. So anyway, next comment. Oh yeah, Tay Awesome Ninja asked, what did you think of Omega Curry, like, visually? Cause I do think it looked cool. I like how, industrious it was.
Yeah, I
did.
I thought it was really cool. Like, I don't know, aesthetic, that's just the word I fall back on. But yeah, I thought it looked really cool. Like, it had we talked about it a bit in the fight, how the locale of that battle was pretty interesting, because you've got all, like, the pipes, like, and the rain. And the sewers,
and yeah. And it's probably, like, one of the more striking locations in the series this far. Like, I can't even say Konoha is, like, it, like, when he does those, like, big village shots, Konoha looks really cool. But, like, when we're there, well, I'll get to talk about this later, but it's just, like, there's not, the the Hokage face statue thing is like, yeah, that's like the only memorable really like place. Like what, I can picture the Hokage's office because they're there all the time, but I can't picture the building. I can't picture the academy. Like there's not a lot of striking look. The area as a whole has a feel to it, but the individual places I just can't think of. So, I mean, that's not untrue of, like, at least Amagakure has a tower, you know, but it's like, but we're not there all the time. Konoha is, like, the place we've been there since the beginning, so, yeah.
Well, to keep building off of this comment, because there was a second part to it where, he talks about how, the nature of that village, like, the way everything is designed around it, is kind of like a setup, like a foreshadowing to what Pain's actual, like, philosophy, what his plan was. And I actually thought that's really cool, because looking back on it, I mean, like, the way how everyone in the village fears this one entity, this one god that is Pain. And I think it's really cool, because it's a good, like, it was subtle enough that I completely missed it the first time, but looking back, like, I can see it there, and I think that's a cool little detail, a cool way to keep building up Pain.
Yeah. One more comment. A couple people tried to, mention, like, or they were trying to justify why Pain had his powers split between his bodies. Like, oh, maybe his chakra, receptors can only receive a certain type of chakra, which would go back to remember when Naruto's like, hey, how do medical ninjutsu work? And Kakashi's like, that's a good question. I'm not answering it. And
yeah.
But, at the same time, it is just kind of like, you know, it's a weakness. It needs to be there because otherwise Pain would be ridiculously overpowered if all the paths could do all the powers. Like, as we see in the fight, he's got some fucking crazy ass powers. But it's just, like, kind of arbitrary. Like, if it was Hunter x Hunter, did I say this last time? Where I feel like, if it was a Nen ability, like, I could see it working because, you know, it would be a self-imposed weakness, which is one of the coolest things I find about Nen. But, there's another Nen chakra comparison, I guess. Another comment, Resident Pilot, he left a few comments, but he also left his big Itachi rant. Which, and then he's like, oh, you guys didn't discuss Itachi this episode. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, we should have.
See, now what we've realized sort of retroactively, I think Craftsdwarf brought it up in the last podcast, but, the way that this arc is structured, we kind of agree that, like, what we did last time we covered, I think it's, Itachi Pursuit and Tale of Jiraiya.
Tale of Jiraiya, yes.
We kind of agreed that those two, like, sub-arcs and then this Itachi versus Sasuke arc, this one big fight, really should all just kind of be lumped together as one giant arc, because, like, the way the Itachi
Sasuke kills
Pursuit
Orochimaru and forms heavy.
Well, yeah, because the Itachi Pursuit arc starts with Orochimaru being killed, Sasuke absorbing him, and then he forms this team to go fight Itachi. And then with the Konoha group, you have this giant squad being formed, and they're out to try to find Sasuke. And then at the end of this arc, the Itachi-Sasuke thing, you obviously have the Sasuke and Itachi's conflict is resolved, and that leads into something brand new. And then you have the stuff with Tobi, where, like, the big group is kind of having, like, a mini fight with Tobi, and that all wraps up. So really, it's like those arcs, even though it's a little difficult with the Jiraiya stuff.
That's the issue, is the Jiraiya, because the Jiraiya stuff feels almost complete. Like, Jiraiya moved because Orochimaru died, so that's there, but other than that, it's all completely disconnected from the rest of the arc, so it makes sense why it's counted as being separate, even though it's really not. But, I feel like it's perfect to, the heavy arc. It starts with Sasuke killing Orochimaru and forming Heavy, and then ends with Sasuke killing Itachi and disbanding Heavy and reforming Taka, it makes sense as one arc, even if the Jiraiya stuff does continue on into the next one. With
arcs, you do have stuff being, you can foreshadow upcoming arcs in a previous one. Like, Hunter x Hunter did that with Yorknu going into Greed Island. Like, Greed Island is constantly being brought up, even though that's not obviously part of that arc.
Yeah, this stretch of arcs is very Hunter x Hunter in a way. Like, just from the Sasuke versus Orochimaru, even up to the war. Like, cause this arc had the Raikage, and he called the Kage Summit, which is literally the next arc. So he had stuff that doesn't matter to this arc, but builds to the next one. That's also spawned from events in this arc, so it's like, it's very, it all runs together, sort of, so, which is cool.
I'm not sure what it is with this arc, if it's just, or this stretch of chapters mainly, like what we covered last time and this time, I'm not sure if it's the way that it kind of bounces back and forth, the way that it kind of like the plot lines are going on simultaneously, or if it's just the fact that Kishimoto had been building all of this up for so long and we're finally getting these big payoffs that, like, this stretch of chapters that we just read, I think is, like, the most invested I've been in Naruto up to this point.
See, it's funny you say that because I was also going to say that, like, I think my favorite stretch of whole chapters would be maybe the Chunin exams part 1, but, like, as an arc, I would definitely say that the Pain Assault is probably my favorite arcs thus far.
Yeah, because, like, it was funny, because after I think it was, like, going into the last podcast, I was starting to think, like, is Naruto Part 2 actually better than Naruto Part 1? And, like, after this, I'm like, it might just be, because this was really solid stuff.
Yeah,
like, I think not just the pain stuff, but, like, do you have any other, I guess we're kind of jumping into the material.
Yeah, I was going to say about the Resident Pilot comment is that, like, he had some points about Itachi I have in mind, but I also realized that, like, okay, going through, like, when we actually get to the Sasuke Itachi and the long discussion afterwards, like, there's stuff that's going to come in later that I don't know the full details of, so it's like, it's gonna be weird to discuss, so we'll get to that when it comes to it, but I do have his thoughts in mind. And he also, in a different comment, he said that, he likes that Jiraiya was pulling everything out because, it makes sense, it shows that he was at the end of his rope. I guess my issue with it is that, like, compare, like, okay, with Naruto and Sasuke, when they were pulling out new stuff at the end of their battle at the end of the Sasuke retrieval arc, it made sense as to, like, it made sense with their powers from what we'd seen thus far and what we knew about them, and, it worked. But with Jiraiya, we haven't seen nearly as much of him, so there's like, the Sage Mode, he can't do this normally because reasons, but here he gets, so, yeah, it's like they have to, like, explain why the character didn't use it before, and it's just a little like, okay, sure. And then, it didn't quite make me invested as much. And, it's good, like, it was good to have his powers established, but, I didn't think the fight was bad, I just wasn't invested in much of it, so, yeah. I think that was my last comment. Yeah.
Alright, so I think we're ready to go then.
Oh boy. Oh yeah, I didn't even introduce ourselves. Oh well. I hope people know who we are by now.
I hope so.
Okay, Sasuke versus Itachi. Alright, so should we talk about the fight first? Like the fight itself? Or...
Well, yeah, because it really does just open on the fight.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a bit of a... I really like how this fight starts off, where it's kind of like the Genjutsu... Like, Genjutsu doesn't usually have a big role in battles, but because, like, these two are masters of the Sharingan, so, like, of course you'd kind of have that sort of, like, a mental battle beforehand. And I do like the way it starts off, where it's kind of like these fights that aren't actually happening, which I guess, do play into Kishimoto's tendency of, like, we gotta have the big fake-outs. But
yeah,
I do.
Yeah, see, that's actually
like...
why I didn't care for the beginning of the fight, like, at all, because it's just like, I've, said like, Genjutsu is the forgotten third of the, trio, but at the same time, there's a reason it's like that way, because it's just, it just feels arbitrary, like, Sasuke was behind, no, those first two fighting were actually clones, and then Sasuke was behind Itachi, and Itachi was behind Sasuke, and it's just like, it could keep going forever. There's no,
Yeah, that's, I mean, like, I never really bought into, like, the fake-outs, but I thought it was cool from, like, Itachi and Sasuke kind of having, like, they're having this sort of discussion while it's happening, and it's...
Yeah, that was fine, but...
I mean, I do, like, as far as, like, I guess if you had to break the fight into stages or whatever, like, to build up that tension, I think... I mean, yeah, some of the fake-outs, like, Itachi got Sasuke's eye, that's a little, maybe a little much, but I do like the idea that, I mean, this is probably, like, I don't want to say this is the most, like, the biggest spotlight that Genjutsu will ever get, because I'm sure it comes up later, but, like, between these two, like, that's their specialty, so, or at least that's Itachi's specialty, so, I mean, it's reasonable enough that it would start that way, and I think it's just a good, like, these two, like, they're having this, to, like, sell the scale of the fight, like, these two are having this, like, big battle before the fight, like, even begins, like, they haven't even moved, but they're like, already... they're already at each other, and I think that's kind of cool, at least conceptually.
Oh, and apparently we'll get to the talking more later too, but they do mention the apparently under the thing under the Uchiha that the message on the wall. Remember, I was like, what? We weren't quite explicitly told what it was, but it was just apparently was just proof that of how the Mangekyo works, I guess. Because, like, Sasuke he gets his after killing Itachi, so, but he doesn't, it's not perfected like Itachi seems to want, because Itachi's merely pretending to be evil, you know? He's like, I'm gonna steal your eyes, he's, like, the part with the bit where he laughs, it just looks kind of goofy, just because it's Itachi, and he doesn't smile, so when he smiles, I don't know.
Like, up to this point, Itachi has been, just reserved. Like, there's no real moments of, like, I am evil, or, you know, even happiness.
I can't imagine an expression on his face that isn't, like, stoic, except for until this one moment, and it's, like, so yeah, it's contrasting, but it's also silly looking. So I'm trying to think of what else. How else do I feel? Because, you know, this had Sasuke pulling out everything, like all the stops. He pulls out all his fire. Okay, there was this one panel where they, like, throw a million shuriken at each other. Like, I wasn't too into the fight. Like, you know, it starts out with a bunch of, like, arbitrary genjutsu. Then they throw shuriken at each other, like the most useless tool in the series. And they're like, let's throw a million of them at each other. Like, the actual page, I kind of like how the way it's broken up looks neat. But just the whole fact that this happened is just like, for what purpose?
Now,
like, why would they ever?
I have a counterpoint to this, because when like back in the flashbacks, when Sasuke or when Itachi's like doing his training or whatever, his like sparring or not sparring, but like, you know, he's supposedly like, when Sasuke wants to be trained at his shuriken jutsu or whatever he called it, like Itachi's better at it than him, and like you've got these panels where Itachi, you know, he's doing like target practice or whatever, and he's like throwing these shuriken, and Sasuke like wants to be that too. So I kind of thought that was supposed to be another one. Like, you had the Genjutsu battle, which was more with, like, the Sharingan. But then you have, like, this Shuriken exchange, which it passes by fairly quickly, doesn't really accomplish much. But I thought it was a cool way to kind of build off of that, like, what had been set up in those flashbacks. Just, like, that little, like, training aspect of it. And you kind of get that, I guess, a payoff to that here, where they have that Shuriken exchange.
Okay, yeah, that's a good connection I didn't realize. But, how did this fight animate? Like, because I'm just imagining their arms flailing about, and it just makes the whole bit more goofy to me. Do you remember how it was in the anime? Or...
I mean, all I remember from, like, I don't remember the specific moments, how they looked. I just am just flashing back to Naruto's fight animation. But, like, I'm not getting anything specific out of it. I apologize, it has been a while since I saw that part of the anime. Like, with Naruto Part 1, I had revisited it a couple of times, but Part 2, I kind of saw it once, and that was it. So, especially, like, this part, like, we're getting now near the point where I'm almost falling off of watching the anime, so memory's getting a bit hazier. So I apologize that I can't give that perspective as strongly.
But yeah, so, you know, there's some neat moments, like Sasuke doing the double shuriken thing, like they did against Zabuza, kind of, and then... You know, Itachi finally shows off the Amaterasu, which was foreshadowed earlier.
Yeah, it's another one of those instances where Kishimoto, like, he set up the Amaterasu all the way back in the Tsunade arc, and it's like,
yes.
I do like that it does take quite a while in this fight to actually get to it, so it's not just like, you know what this technique is, we've been foreshadowing it, let's just throw it out right away. Like, there's still, like, we know it's coming, but continuing to build up to it makes it feel like a super duper attack. It's cool.
Yeah, and Sasuke, like, using the lightning in the battle was neat. Even if it, but then Itachi pulls out a completely new technique that we've never seen before, that also uses, like, okay, here's one thing I've been a bit fuzzy on with, like, I kind of want to say artifacts, because Itachi uses, like, a special sword to seal up Orochimaru, and, like, I don't know, I guess there's magic items in the setting, like, cause there's, like, items, I'm trying to think of what other items have there been thus far? There's, like seals, like, there's, like, the, you know, explosives, and it tags and stuff, but those are, you know, chakra, but I can't think of, like, many, like, well, I guess, no, there's the swords, okay, yeah, there's the Kasame's sword, okay, so yeah, and, okay, here's what's basically been bugging me about the whole fight, is retroactively Itachi's like a super god genius that makes Shikamaru look like a tiny baby.
Like what do you mean?
And it's like the whole like Sasuke does the lightning thing, and it's Itachi predicted that. Itachi predicted that. Itachi predicted. How do you feel about Itachi's intelligence?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from now.
Because,
that is,
like, you have to suspend your disbelief really fucking far. Like, how do I even sort through this?
Like to an extent, I think like all the steps leading up to this point were kind of cool, but yeah, like the way that the fight, retroactively, the way that, because I hadn't really thought about it before, but like the way that Itachi does, like, oh, well, this had to happen a certain way so we could bring Orochimaru out, and this had to go a certain way so you could awaken your Mangekyo, and yeah, maybe a little convenient.
Well, it's like Sasuke's supposed, like, you know, with Orochimaru absorbed, he's pretty much, you know, Sani and Kage level, but Itachi is just, like, even though he's sick and dying, he's still just, like, Sasuke's putty in his hands. It kind of undercuts the fight a bit, and I wasn't into the fight a whole lot, and then it's just like, oh, okay, nothing mattered. Nothing Sasuke did matter because Itachi already knew everything. Like, it was just...
See, as I was going through this fight, I enjoyed the fight. There were a lot of moments in it that I thought were pretty cool. Like, I was fascinated by the idea of Sasuke taming lightning. Like, I thought, it was just, I guess, the nature of the power, like, him having to, like, summon, or using his fire jutsu to, like, make the rain cloud, and because at that point, like, he's out of chakra, so it's really, like, this ultimate technique that, and they talk about, like, lightning is, like, 1/1000th of a second, it's faster than sound, so it's, like, an unavoidable attack, and he can, like, I don't know, it was just a really cool moment, like, as far as this fight, this really should be the big climax of Sasuke's character up to this point, so to bust out a technique like that, which is really, I don't think he ever uses it again, I think this is the only time that he pulls it out. So it does give this fight an extra, like, it adds a bit of, I guess, a special quality to this fight. Although, now that I think about it, like, doesn't lightning shoot from the ground up, not from the sky down, so...
it's magic lightning.
Yeah, I guess I could justify it because, like, Sasuke's technique summoned the rain cloud, so, like, maybe it's special in that way. That's gonna be my answer.
It's magic chakra lightning. Stop thinking about it.
But I thought it was kind of funny. Like, up to this point, I mean, now that we know how, or like what exactly Orochimaru being absorbed entails, it is cool how like Sasuke does run out of chakra. He tries to use more, and then Orochimaru comes out. Although the way it plays out is just kind of funny. It's just like, I'm Orochimaru and I'm here to take over Sasuke, and he just gets stabbed.
And he just dies. And of course you get the, like, mythological reference because in the myth Susanoo kills Orochi. So, he gets him Orochi drunk first, and that didn't happen. But yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that's cute. You know, because Kishimoto really loves his mythology, you know, there's so many references. You know, Kirin, that's another mythological creature with Sasuke's techniques. So, yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of like, Orochimaru's here, dies. Like, literally the next page. Like, he just pops out of the snake and he's like, yep, I'm Orochimaru, I'm back, bitch. And then, oh.
See, I remember that part in the anime. Like, this was the part where I was starting to really, like, lose interest. Although, like, going through the manga again and reading it, I didn't have nearly as much of a problem with it. I just thought it was a little funny. But back then I was like, what? I thought Orochimaru was dead. Why is he alive again? But no, it's fine.
Yep, and then, okay, so I think I've said most of what I say on the fight, like...
I guess if I had to have a problem with anything, I'm not a big fan of Susanoo. I've never been a fan of it.
That's fair. And like I said, it just kind of comes, because it's apparently, how many fucking, like, Itachi has 2 eyes, but he has 3 special eye abilities. And then
because like he had the Tsukuyomi, which was cool, and then the Amaterasu had gotten a ton of build up as well, and then Susanoo is just kind of, I get it, you have to bust out new techniques in a big fight like this to, I guess, sell that scale, but like Susanoo comes out of nowhere at the last second, and then just
it's sort of the same issue with Jiraiya, is that we haven't seen Itachi a lot, so him pulling out new stuff, like with Sasuke, what does he do that's new? He does a new lightning technique that makes sense because he's used lightning the whole time. He uses fire techniques, which he hasn't done since part 1, but why would he lose them, you know, like, and then if he's got Orochimaru in him, but that wasn't really him, so to speak, but it, you know,
yeah, because like he's doing Orochimaru's substitution stuff and whatnot, and he's using snakes and stuff.
And he still does other snake stuff on his own, and then I was also thinking of when he turns into Orochimaru, that's because he got, so it's like, there's nothing, like, we've seen enough of Sasuke that nothing he does is unusual, but we haven't seen enough of Itachi, so it's just like, oh, okay. Not a fan of that method of storytelling. Even though, again, it's trying to keep tension, but it's not necessarily great. So
Another thing that I didn't particularly care for with this fight, and this is more of a personal preference I guess, but Zetsu having a conversation with himself, this is like, I think the worst it's been so far, because like he's literally just
well, this is the first time this is the first time he's done this outright like this. Like, he's been around, but this is the first time he's been like observing and commentating on a fight.
Now, like,
and I guess the other issue with like, because the thing with like the Hunter x Hunter narrator is the narrator is objective. So we can sort of, like, everything the narrator says we can take as 100% true, because he's omniscient. But with Zetsu, we're limited to what he sees and notices. So if he gets something wrong, then we're being told something is wrong. Like, imagine if he was there at the Sasuke versus Deidara fight and he says, neither Sasuke or Deidara have chakra left, just based on assumption. Like, that doesn't work. It's just, so, you know, I'm not sure if he says anything wrong. Well, that's the thing. One of them says something wrong and the other is like, no, you fucking idiot. Because there's the dumbass half and then there's the smart half.
I just don't like Zetsu. Like, the whole, especially in the anime, it was more egregious because, I mean, like, they're actually having a conversation and you have to, like, you can't just read it in a panel. Like, it gets, you know, dialogue and stuff. And, like, the back and forth, it's not funny to me. It's not entertaining to me. Honestly, I personally would have just preferred narration for this, but I guess, like, Zetsu is there to record battles, so you have to have him. And like,
he'd be a great Let's Player. He can record, he can commentate.
And yeah, he's two-faced or whatever, so he can, like, have back and forth with himself.
Yeah, but
yeah, like, this was a fight I didn't have super huge problems with, but also, I don't know, it didn't, like, something about this fight just felt off to me. Like, it didn't, I don't know, it felt like...
Well, I think the fact that, like, Itachi's just pretending doesn't help. Oh, yeah, well, I was gonna get to the payoff, but, like, you know, Itachi's just being, like, you know, I'm pretending to be evil, so he's not, like... You know, this is, like, Sasuke's big moment, and Itachi's, like, the big stuff comes after this, but in the moment it's just, like, you know, okay, you know, Itachi's a bad guy, and Sasuke kills him. You know, so, okay, that's cool. Fine, that's cool. You know, we've been waiting for this since, like, what, chapter 2, 3, when Sasuke said he had someone he must kill? So, it's not bad, but definitely not too enthused on it, especially looking back on it after with future knowledge, so...
Yeah, because I do like the fight, and I like what happens after it, but, I don't know, I guess I had kind of expected that maybe this fight would end up like, I feel like this should be one of the best fights in the series, because of how much, like, dramatic, like, how much weight is behind it, how long we've been building up to this, and I feel like it kind of falls short a bit. Like, I do think it delivers on a lot of the build-up, but I think it just misses a tiny, tiny bit.
All right, yeah, okay.
Like, so, this isn't like I don't think the emotional stake is quite the same as, like, a Sasuke versus Naruto, although I guess they're, like, both the protagonists of the story, so maybe that's why.
Well, I guess, you know, so yeah, we have both Naruto and Sasuke's perspective there, but here, you know, again, Itachi's pretending. Like, so we don't get the emotional moment from Itachi's, like, it's all on Sasuke's side. You know, he's the Avenger, avenging the Uchiha clan. From Itachi's side, he's just this monster, whatever, who's just did it for fun. But then in the end, you finally get him acting in truthfully, and, like, that was, for me, the best part, is when he did the double finger tap on Sasuke. Which, yes. I mean, it gets, I liked it in the moment, but then after all the talking, you get, like, a flashback to all the finger poke moments. So Kishimoto was really proud of it because he set it up for so I was fine. He didn't need to flash back to it.
He's like, this is what I did.
Yeah, he was just like, after, you know, we find out everything about Itachi and you see all the finger pokes, and I'm just like, okay, I didn't need this, but I get it.
Like, hey, I did this thing, and just to make sure that you're aware that I did this thing, here's all the times that I've been building up to it. Look at me.
Exactly. Yeah, so, you know, so it was still good though, you know, going through the fight and then like, oh shit, because it's, like, you remember how my reaction to it when I noticed it way back when.
Yeah,
and I was like, because I totally forgot about, like, all the fact that he, like, directly pointed it out, like, right after this, so I forgot about that apparently. But, I'm just noticing with Amaterasu, like, it's supposed to be this all-consuming fire. Like, I guess it doesn't burn, stone, I guess. Like, but it burns fire. So, I don't know, it just, I don't remember if they stated, I just know that they've stopped it at times because it is super dangerous. But, I don't know, I forget what its exact limitations are. And as in, why does it burn down the world? I'm glad that it doesn't. It would be shitty. That would be pretty shitty. But, Because there's like after the fight, you just see it like burning all this shit, like trees, and a snake just gets, which of course symbolic of Orochimaru being not quite 100% destroyed, but out of Sasuke he is. So, but all right, so yeah, the fight aftermath. Sasuke wins. He passes the fuck out.
See, the thing about this is that I do like when a story can do a good, like, for something like this, with all the build-up that it has, it would either have to, wrap everything up, and that'd be the end of the Sasuke Itachi stuff, or B, if you want to keep things going, you have to throw in a good plot twist. And I mean, we've already been talking about how Kishimoto had this idea, this plot twist plan from the beginning, so, I mean, all the setup was definitely there. And so I think, I don't know, for some reason the fight kind of falls a little flat for me, but the twist here, this I think was I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I think the first time around when I watched it, because I didn't understand I didn't understand the full context of it, I was like, oh, he came up with this out of nowhere, and this is dumb. But I really liked it here. This was the part where I was like, oh shit, things are happening, and I got this was the part where I was starting to get super invested.
So there is a brief a fight between Tobi and everyone, Sai and Sakura do nothing. Hinata does this, she's watching, and Shino does this bug thing, but it just kind of goes nowhere. They just because Zetsu comes in, he's like, oh, Itachi's dead, let's go, and then Madara shows off his Sharingan. Okay. Okay, so, was there anything else on that end before? Nope. Okay, yeah, I think that was about it before we get to the, Sasuke. Because, Naruto tries to, they finally reach where Sasuke was, but he's gone because Tobi took him. So, now I guess we can finally get to the conversation between, Tobi, because, okay, reading this hurt my fucking head a bit. Because, okay, for one, it's 5 chapters of just straight talking? There's no cutaways to anything else. It's just straight, Tobi explaining, tons of backstory. But then, you there's parts where I'm pretty sure he's, lying, or, there's something being, omitted, because Itachi's not there.
There's a definite spot where, they talk about the Nine Tails attack 16 years ago.
Yes, yes.
He's like, no, that was
totally random. I didn't do anything. And then it turns out that, and then of course it later turns out that this is neither Tobi or Madara. It's Obito. So there's this whole other character I really don't know who's actually this is a character I don't know, pretending to be characters who I think I know. Is what I'm trying to say, is so, I'm I don't know what Obito's game is, so I'm just okay, I can guess based on what he's doing, but again, there's lies and reveals and twists, and, it was, interesting to read. So we find out that, we already did a little bit of discussion, we found out Itachi's a double agent. He was working for the village, to stop the Uchiha, from rebelling, and he was working with Uchiha to rebel and kill the village, to usurp power in the village because they were being treated like dog shit, which of course goes back to Madara and, opposing, the Uchihas going with the elite village because they're gonna treat us like shit, and the Uchihas are, but we want peace, and then they get treated like shit, and so Madara was right. And then what else? I don't know, do you have anything to say? So, any particular bits you want to point out?
What I did like about, with this reveal, I felt a sort of, there's a certain appeal that I find in characters that have these, I guess, I don't know, these, morally gray characters. For me, I made a video about Stain from My Hero Academia, but what I really like about him is that even though he has what he believes to be, a greater moral, standing, he's still, a flawed person, and with Itachi, he essentially sacrifices himself for the village, but at the same time, you have details, he spares Sasuke, and, it's mentioned in a panel that, he threatens Danzo that, he would leak all the intelligence he had on the Leaf if they ever did anything to Sasuke, which is interesting, because, Itachi's entire motive was to try to protect the Leaf, but at this point, he prioritizes his brother over the Leaf, which I think is a very human flaw to have. I mean, because, he kind of goes out as, a martyr. He sacrifices himself for the sake of the village, so you might view him in a more heroic light. but at the same time, he still does have those more human flaws. Because, like, I mean, everything that he did would have been pointless if Sasuke died, like, then he would have leaked everything, and then at that point, like, what did it matter? Which you might say from, like, a narrative, like, from a narrative standpoint, that doesn't make much sense, because it kind of invalidates everything that he did. But, I mean, I think that's a very human flaw to have, like, he wants to protect his brother. I think I like that.
Yeah. Well, the other aspect to it is that, the third Hokage was seeking negotiations with the Uchiha because he's good. He was involved with this shit, but he's the good guy, so we can't just throw him under the bus. So he was seeking negotiations, but like, so there was an out for the situation to have been salvaged. Like, there wasn't a 100% guarantee that war was going to happen, and Itachi was a liaison between both sides, so. But he acted. He was ordered to act, and he chose to act on those orders. So it's not like he was like, he was like Sasuke's. Sasuke, of course, he hears all this. And he decides that he feels like Itachi shouldn't have been put in that situation. So he, in the first place, so he destroyed Konoha, And then, but the whole thing with it is that, like, in doing so, he's also going against what Itachi wants. Itachi wants peace. Like, he killed the Uchiha clan for peace. And Sasuke's like, fuck peace, and or how did he put it? Because he was talking, this was after this conversation, he was having another conversation
Itachi
with
prioritized Sasuke's life over the leaf, and similarly, Sasuke prioritizes Itachi's life over the leaf.
Right, he's being petulant, like, or how did he put it, like, my rage at Itachi being dead is more intense than what he died for. So he's just like being very, he's being as selfish as Itachi, basically. Selfishly selfless, or I guess I might want to say. But what else was it to it? So
I do think it was interesting how, like, some of the older details are kind of revisited in a new context. Like, after the third Hokage dies, and you have that bit where Kisame and Itachi show up. There's a panel here which is like, hey, he went back to the Leaf Village to remind Danzo and the counselors that he was still out there. That just because the third Hokage, because the third Hokage was supposedly Sasuke's protector, like for Itachi's benefit. So he shows up like, hey, just because he's gone, you hurt Sasuke, and you're gonna be in some trouble with me. Yeah.
Well, because he also had the peace truce with, or I said like the two words that made sense but weren't right. So Akatsuki wouldn't attack Konoha, so he was the one to attack and try and get Naruto 4 years ago, but that didn't pan out. So but of course, and he had another reason to do it. Like we were talking about then, is that that he avoided killing any Jonin, because why weaken the leaf, So
because now that I think about it, when we I forget which podcast it was, but we talked about, like, we were kind of confused, like, why would Itachi show up to the Leaf Village to go after Naruto if he couldn't take him until, like, if they couldn't take the Nine Tails
that was last
until
time,
last.
Yeah.
But if that apparently wasn't his actual reason, it's kind of changed here. Like, he's not, he acts like he's going for Naruto, I guess, at the time, but that's not really what he's there for. He's just
the thing is, it's like, because I don't think he knew about well, no, they did know about Jiraiya because they tried to distract him. So, okay, so he knew there was a way that, like, he might, like, because he's a smart guy. He predicts everything. He's the but so what was I gonna say? Fuck. I guess the thing is like, what did Akatsuki know? I guess is like, did they send Itachi to go get Naruto specifically? Was he just there looking for because I feel like he's the most well-known Jinchuriki. Like, we literally, aside from Gaara, we literally haven't heard of anyone else in like the context of like discussion until Killer Bee. Like, they're all just like marginal characters. Like, the other Jinchuriki are just no one. They're not worth just even bringing up until they get captured by an Akatsuki member, except for Naruto. So it's basically the only reason he hasn't been captured, or more attempted capture more. That was sentence. Was because Itachi, his peace pact with, don't fuck with Konoha, except when he broke it, because he's the one, he doesn't have a peace pact with Konoha, just the rest of Akatsuki, I guess. I forget where I was going with that. I'm tired, I think. Sorry.
There was one particular, this is more of just like personally like an interesting concept to me. But like, there's a line of dialogue when Sasuke and Itachi are having their back and forth, and it's kind of revisited in this flashback. But Itachi talks about how knowledge and awareness are are equivocal. One's reality might be an illusion. We all live inside our own fantasies, which I thought was interesting. Like, just, it's a cool sort of, I guess, like, philosophy that kind of goes along with, like, his powers of, like, illusion in the Sharingan. Like, I don't know, I just think it's a cool, like, the Sharingan is kind of like in a way, like a physical manifestation of that ideology, if that makes sense. Like, it's all about illusions and stuff, and, you know, just this idea that, I guess, one's perspective is ultimately limited by their own experiences, which is something that it's a concept that I'm particularly fascinated with. So, like,
yeah, okay.
Like, in a way, like, the way all this information is dumped on Sasuke, like, it is a lot to take in from, like, the reader's perspective, which I think kind of puts us in Sasuke's shoes. Like, he has, like, a mental breakdown when all of this information is getting thrown at him. Like, he tries to, like, attack Tobi and whatever, which,
Well, yeah, like, there's one point where, there was another point where, like, you know, he's, you know, there was the bit with, the lie, sort of, that Itachi's like, oh, no, this happened, and, Obito's like, or Tobi's like, oh, this happened. I think it was the bit with the, like, attacking the village, so Sasuke sees a contradiction, but and, like, he thinks Itachi's evil, so that means that, like, hold on, I'm trying to decipher my notes.
Well, like, he does kind of, like, try to refute information, because he's like, no, but that's not, like, well, he just kind of stubbornly defies it. Like, no, this is not Itachi.
The way he's refuting it is because, like, he's refuting it in a way that paints Itachi as a bad guy by using Itachi's words. So he's trusting the words of a villain, even though, like, going with Obito's or Tobi's case, Madara's, damn it, fuck this, god damn it. Going with Madara's case would paint Itachi, like, it's a paradox in a way. Like, to paint Itachi as a good guy would mean he was lying, to paint him as a bad guy would mean he was telling the truth. And, Sasuke's just like, he's out of his fight, he's like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah, like, so it was an interesting way to get that across. Like, he's literally just confused. He's just, not that, like,
he's kind of having, like, an existential
and
crisis. Because, like, he's getting overloaded by all this new information, and, like, everything that he had believed up to this point. Like, this is what I think is, especially interesting about his character. This is why this is one of the most interesting moments for him, is that, like, up to this point, I talked about this in, I think I talked about this in my thematic breakdown video with Karapika, but with Sasuke, he follows simplistic might not be the right word, but he's got kind of a one-track mind. Like, he's out to attain his vengeance against Itachi, and that's his ultimate goal. Now, there are more nuances to his mindset, but at the end of the day, that's his one goal, and that's ultimately what he's going to shoot for. But then he gets all this new information after achieving that goal, and that, I guess, any sort of fulfillment is, like, stripped away, and now everything that he's lived for turns out to be a lie. And then, like, how do you cope with that? Like, how do you process all of that? And I do think that Kishimoto handles that aspect incredibly well. Like, Sasuke, after this, like, he decides to destroy Konoha, which is...
Well, yeah, all he knows is hate and vengeance, so he already avenged himself, and he realized that was wrong, so all he's left to is to avenge Itachi, you know? So that's, like, the only thing he can process. Although, there is a bit of a hole in Itachi's plan, because he's like, oh, if you kill me, you can go back to Konoha here. Like, see, that's the issue, is because Itachi's so smart, he kind of goes back to being dumb, because, like, okay, so back when, remember there was one bit I was confused on where Itachi's like, you don't have enough hate, Sasuke. You know, so it's reasonable of him to assume that Orochimaru would be looking for an Uchiha. Hell, because Sasuke even had a curse mark at that point. So, you know, he could have assumed that, you know, Sasuke would go to Orochimaru. You know, but then Itachi also wanted Sasuke to kill him and become a hero. So, like, and clearly he was wrong, because Sasuke is not going back to Konoha a hero. But then you have the issue of why they would even accept him. Because that's the thing, is he technically hasn't done anything wrong.
Well, yeah, because at this point, I mean, Sasuke had, like, if you consider his actions up to this point, he killed 2 members of the Akatsuki, Deidara and Itachi, so that would be a benefit to the Leaf Village up to this point.
And he also killed Orochimaru.
So, like...
And he made a point to end Manda. He put poor innocent Manda.
So, yeah, like, up to this point, Sasuke, he abandons the leaf and he goes rogue, but up to this point he hasn't really done anything, like, evil. Like, he joined forces with Orochimaru for a bit, but I mean, I think
well, he
like
did.
at this point,
I guess. Well, like,
his
go on. Yeah.
At this point, his I guess the actions that he's done have they've been more beneficial to the Leaf than detrimental. Like I guess the good has outweighed the bad. So at this point, like if he wanted to return, like if he hadn't, if he hadn't been given all this new information, I could believably see him going back to the Leaf and that being okay.
See,
like the Leaf accepting.
I'm wondering
like, maybe
if he would have though, like because that would be a bit like because the way he left, because there's two little points against him. I'd say is because he fought against the Leaf Village like twice. You know, he defeated Yamato-Asai and Naruto, and then he also there was the whole sound thing, which could have resulted in 2 dead Genin. By the way, like that would
that's true. Although that wasn't necessary. Like he was along with that. Like I don't think it would have been like they would have easily accepted him like, oh, welcome back, Sasuke, and yeah.
Well, because the other matter is integrity, because ninjas leaving villages is a huge deal, you know, like that it's, I mean, one of the reasons is because they mentioned it back in the Wave Country arc where that, you know, an autopsy of a body can reveal a lot of information, and I've thought about that since, and it's like, there's a lot of, like, war happens, oh, look, we killed that guy, now we have his body, like, from a standard, just a regular old ninja, like, I forget if Zabuza, like, what was special about his body? Like, there's just so, I have trouble accepting, like, Sharingan, like, a dead Uchiha, that I can understand being super important, especially with the eyes and stuff, or a Hyuga, but just in general, like, I feel like that information should already be out there, just because, and especially with Missing Ninja, like, that's why they're a big deal, is because they leave the village, so it's like, there's a matter of integrity with the village. Like if they just accept this colonel back,
well, yeah, like I think there'd be a big process about it, but ultimately, like at the end of the day, I think that it would work out. Like maybe it wouldn't be like sunshine and rainbows, but I think there'd be some sort of a. But yeah, like I mean, ultimately it doesn't happen because he does get all this information, and then he is going to take more extreme actions later on. Like even in the next arc, he goes after Killer Bee, and at that point, he's like a wanted criminal.
That's when he goes full, like actual, like he's attacking an ally of the Leaf Village. Like, you know, that's where he's okay. He's done something wrong. You know.
Yes.
So, but yeah, but again, it's also I wonder about Sasuke himself. Like he could have gone back to Leaf Village, but after killing and being so, killing some strong ninjas, like would he swallow his pride? Like what would he need to with the like. And go back, like, it's hard, I'm not sure, after being an independent, like, would he go back to just the standard village structure, you know? So, and of course, he finds out about the problems with the Leaf Village and, decides to destroy it. Did you have anything else to say? Cause I did want to, like, how do you feel about that whole cause he kind of flip-flops on it a bit, cause he's like, destroy Konoha! And it's like, oh no, I just want Danzo and those 2 guys dead. Then it's like, oh no, I was just said that in front of Karin and everyone. I actually want to destroy the whole village. So I'm just trying to think, cause I feel like, yeah, killing those 3 guys, that totally makes sense. Like, Danzo and the 2 councilmen. But like, I don't see why the whole village has to go. So I don't know if it's just Sasuke being an angry kid, or if there's another reason for it, or...
Well, I have a couple... I screenshotted a bunch of panels of this conversation for this topic, but we're kind of... before we get to the destroy Konoha bit, there are other little details that I don't know how I felt about. Like, there's a specific panel with Itachi, because, like, at the end of the fight where he, like, coughs up blood, and then it's like, something's not right with Itachi. Something's not right here. He should be stronger than this.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the sickness.
And then, yeah, ravaged by illness, he prolongs his life with medication just so he could, like... Just so Sasuke could be made out to be Konoha's hero by taking down the man who slaughtered the Uchiha clan. But, like, I don't feel like the plot sickness needs to be there. Like, I would have believed it if he was just coughing up blood as like, the strain of the fight. Like, I think these are extraneous details that don't need to be there. They just muddy the waters.
Yeah, well, because it's just like, because and that goes back to what I was saying about Itachi, he's like, triple Kage level. Like, Sasuke is at his strongest here, or stronger than he will be for probably a good while. Like, I don't know how close he, like, I had never read the war, so I don't know how he even gets back to this point. But Itachi, he's, like I said, he's just completely above Sasuke tactically and just has the counter to everything because he's such a genius planner. But he also was sick. He was weakened. Like, remember what I was talking about last time with, like, the clones, and, cause, like, Guy went 5th gate to beat, like, a clone, a weakened version of Kasame? And, like, it just, Itachi's too fucking strong.
Like, what I don't, like, with with Kimimaro, he was a minor character. You could just kind of sweep it under the rug because ultimately it wasn't a huge deal. But like with Itachi, you can't just drop this in here at the last minute and not explain it. Like, what illness? Like, why is he sick? How did he get this sickness? Like,
and you're right, it's completely pointless. Like, it doesn't add anything. It just serves to cheapen Sasuke's victory.
Yeah.
Like, which was already cheap enough with Itachi having been, he had everything under control. Cause, they mentioned, this was another thing. The Sharingan being able to, like, measure capabilities and, sense, like, I'm trying to remember when was that, cause I know it can copy, techniques, but I never felt like, I thought that was like he was seeing the hand signs, and stuff, like, not from, like, the chakra signatures, so I'm just wondering if this was mentioned before. And I don't remember. Cause we're at the point where the Sharingan has gone well beyond what it was originally designed to do.
Yes.
So, like, cause I kind of mentioned it when, Amaterasu, like, that was the first 100% instance. Like, there was the one weird translation bit with, like, where Sasuke mimicked the cursed seal, and I'm like, what? Did they do with the Sharingan? That doesn't, what does that even mean? Like, I still don't know what it means. And now he doesn't have the cursed seal anymore, so whatever.
Because you've got, like,
at this point, the Sharingan is just, it does everything. Like, it can sense chakra power levels, it can
create an ultimate shield. The
ultimate shield, an ultimate sword, an all-burning fire, the best genjutsu, like, Tsukuyomi's got the best genjutsu, and lots of other genjutsu it's a little ridiculous. And Itachi's, of course, the master god, so Itachi could beat Kaguya, is what I'm saying.
But like, he just couldn't do it because he had plot sickness. See, like, if they wanted to go with the whole illness thing, like, they could explain, like, what kind of an illness does he have? Like, it bothers me so much because it's just thrown in, like, and nothing.
Yeah, that's what bothers me about it, is that it's so, like, extraneous, like you said, so.
Because, like, nothing to this point had hinted at any sort of illness. It was just, like, because, like, he already has, like, some significant flaws. Like, I liked how his vision was limited, like, how he got, when Sasuke tricked him with, the rigged shuriken, or the massive, whatever it's called.
Which, wait, hold on, actually I just thought of something, so does that mean he didn't actually steal Shisui's eyes? Because if he did, then his eyesight would have been perfected, right?
I don't remember much about the Shisui plot. I don't think Itachi
maybe that comes up later. Because as I was coming to understand it, is that, like, because he wanted Sasuke's eyes so he could cure his vision and
for the eternal Mangekyo,
the eternal god tier Mangekyo, know, and be. But see, and like with Sasuke, he's got his Mangekyo now, but it's not eternal perfect, so he doesn't have another set of eyes. So he's Sasuke is at risk of losing his vision, like Itachi. So
I thought it was Danzo who took Shisui's eyes, but
maybe
we'll get to that later.
That'll be next arc. Yeah. So
but like,
again, I'm not a huge fan of the Sharingan. Like, I like some of the conceptual ideas, but it just went too far. As like, it's hard accepting it as a single power because it can just do so much. And where every Uchiha has different abilities. Like, Kakashi has his time space shit. So it's like, it's just like it's almost like the devil fruit from One Piece, but the Uchiha are born with it and they get it later, but they all have this unique ability. So it's like just this one little, like, thing that everyone, I mean, all the Uchihas are dead, of course, but still.
What I liked was, like, the setback with the Mangekyo, which is what I was kind of getting to with the Itachi bit, how, like, it kind of, like, progressively, the more you use it, the more, like, you progressively become blind. And I liked how that played into the fight, like, Itachi, like, that's a good limitation. Plot sickness is not a good limitation. Because, like, I'm also sort of confused, like, with the way the fight ends, like, Itachi uses he uses the Amaterasu and, like, abuses that, and then one of his eyes goes, like, white, so I kind of assumed that he mostly lost vision in that eye, because, like, before, I don't think his eyes were white in the beginning, weren't they black? Or am I just screwing up details now?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and check.
But then, like, after he uses the Susanoo as well, then his other eye kind of disappears. So, like, later on, Sasuke will take those Sharingan, and that becomes his Eternal Mangekyo, which already, like, I'm not a huge fan of the Eternal It's tough.
That sounds like stuff
the...
I'm not familiar with, so...
Well, because, like, the Eternal Mangekyo was what... That's why Itachi wanted Sasuke's eyes. So, like...
Yeah,
you
or
can't
was pretending
really
to want his eyes, but
remove
yes.
it, because that's supposedly a big motivation for his character, but also... it immediately erases the limitation of the Sharingan causing blindness, so...
Well, I figure that's why it's an upgrade, and it's like, they're, but... Also, what were you saying about Itachi's eyes earlier? Because I'm looking at the fight, and he just has, like, his Sharingan, his Mangekyo, and then, yeah, they go, like, white after the end, but I'm trying... Though there was a part where, okay, Sasuke's bleeding. Hold on.
Well, because the thing with Itachi is that, like, he's losing his vision, so he wants to get new eyes. And then it's also established that with the Eternal Mangekyo, you can, like, restore your vision... Or not restore it, but, like, if your eyes go bad, you just replace them with someone else's, and that's the Eternal Mangekyo. My thing with that is, like, does the amount of strain you put on your eyes not affect the next person who gets them? Like, Itachi's vision is already kind of going bad, so, like, if Sasuke takes his eyes later...
I see what you mean
does
now.
Sasuke just have perfect vision? Like, does transferring the eyes to a different body restore their viewing capabilities?
It's magic! I
guess that's more of a discussion for later, but...
Yeah, I guess so. But, yeah, it's just, like, I'm just like, it's magic. It just works, Like, maybe I will have something to say on it when we do get to that, but, alright. But, actually, I was just looking at the fight, and there's some, you were talking about, the visual details of Itachi's eyes, and, yeah, when he's using Susanoo, after he blocks Kirin, his eyes are, like, void, just like they are when he dies, so yeah. I don't know if he's, like, blind at that point. Like, he can see enough to at least tap Sasuke on the forehead. But, but before that, his eyes were, like, bloodshot when he was using some of his techniques. Like, there was, like, a lot of, so, yeah, I thought you mentioned something along those veins, but, along that vein, but.
Well, yeah, because I do, like, it's more of a design detail, but I do kind of like how the bleeding eyes, is, I guess as edgy as that could be seen as, it does look pretty intimidating, especially, like, there was one panel where, like, his eyes are completely, like, bloodshot, and one of them when he's using the flames, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man. Well, as far as, you made me think of something we'll talk about later. So, anyway, I guess, did we have anything else to say about the fight or the conversation?
No.
Jesus Christ, we're an hour in. And we haven't even gotten to Pain.
I was going to say, I was expecting a long, in-depth discussion on Sasuke and Itachi. Yeah, because even then, like, after that stuff, we kind of cut to Naruto, and there's a flashback to...
Oh, no. Well, no, I wasn't... there was the bit where, the flashback... Well, because, Sasuke, finally breaks down and shows an emotion. Because he hasn't been super motive since part 2 started. Like, but, he cries. Though, okay, tell me if this didn't bother you, because Sugetsu, Karin, and Jugo are just there, and they haven't been seen since Kasame. Like, they're just there.
That didn't bother me.
Okay.
Well,
I just thought it was funny because we literally haven't seen these characters in, like, 20... Like, it feels like Kishimoto forgot about them, too, and he's just like, oh, yeah... And it just puts them there. Like, it doesn't explain what they've been doing, what happened with Kasame.
Well, yeah, because, like, I guess it did seem like Kisame and Suigetsu were going to get in some sort of a fight, but that doesn't really
like
happen.
A 3-on-1 fight, just to sort of hold them off so they don't get involved with Itachi, but then instead they just kind of get forgotten. And, Sasuke and they have this, like, extended conversation, and none of these characters even come up, and then just suddenly they're not even there, like, because there's a bit where, like, after the conversation, there's, like, Sasuke standing on the cliff, and there's, like, a set of footprints, and you still don't see anyone but Sasuke, and then they're just there. It's just like, oh yeah, you guys exist. It's just, oh man, like I just feel like Kishimoto forgot them too, which is fair, because they suck. Okay, alright, so moving on. We're not quite done, because there's a little bit between Itachi and Naruto. We get a flashback.
Yes, and there was one particular panel that I screenshotted here, Itachi, Itachi refers to, when he's talking to Naruto, he says Sasuke is still a blank canvas. He can easily be dyed any color. And I think that's a really good way to sum up, like, what happens with Sasuke, why his, like...
Yeah,
because the big problem that people have with this plot twist is that, like, Sasuke's character...
It's such a 180 on Sasuke?
Yeah, it's such a 180. Like, it's a huge leap in logic. Like, Sasuke just completely... Like, he goes from... I mean...
Fuck Itachi, he's the worst thing ever, I need to burn him down and kill everything.
And now
and then he's like, oh, Itachi's the best guy ever, I need to kill everyone who's ever even talked shit about him. Yeah, so, yeah, I can see that.
But like, the thing here is that... Because, like, once that... Like, he gets all this massive info dump on him, and, like, his entire worldview is, like, turned upside down. And so the idea that, like, he's a blank canvas... That sums it up perfectly, because, like, Sasuke, everything he knew up to this point is a lie, so he doesn't know what to believe. And so it's basically, like, whoever could get their hands on him first would then kind of, like, shift what happens. And, like, unlike with Naruto, where Naruto has all the support of the people in Konoha, Sasuke is alone. He has nobody except this manipulative Tobi / Madara person.
Yeah,
and so...
Well, and the way you can also, like, looking back to part 1, is you have this canvas that is Sasuke. You know, first it's like, you know, he's getting closer with Naruto and stuff after the opposite stuff, so it's getting painted that color. And then Orochimaru throws some contrast there, and then you have the fight, which is like, so you can say like, oh, well, Sasuke's canvas is 2 colors, and the result of the fight will choose what color he takes on. So you could say, you know, just deepening the metaphor there.
And
you know, so
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, but this is relevant to our discussion on Sasuke. There's a conversation between Pain and Naruto later, and there's a specific bubble of dialogue from Pain where he says, if one calls vengeance justice, such justice will just breed further vengeance. So even though Sasuke... This does apply to Sasuke, because even though his character... Like, it seems like he makes a complete 180... But he's still consistent to a certain level, like a certain line of logic, like that.
It's still vengeance focused.
Yeah, because that thought bubble covers it pretty well. That, like, he has attained one level of vengeance, and so what comes out of that but more vengeance? And this time it's on Konoha. But on top of that, you still have, like, when Sasuke is talking with Tobi, whether it's their initial conversation or later on. He still talks about, like, how he can't do as Itachi wished. He's still going to follow his own path. So there's still a level of consistency there.
Yes, he's still rejecting, like, because he said he wasn't going to kill him. Like, Itachi was like, kill Naruto and get your eyes, and Sasuke's like, nah. And, you know, but now Itachi's like, be peaceful, and Sasuke's like, nah. So, yeah, he's still being like, you know, Itachi, I'm going to do everything for you, but I'm not going to listen to you. I'm doing it because I want to. Like, I guess he still wants... Well, shit, I just realized, you know, thinking back to his flashback, he wants to surpass Itachi. He wants to be recognized as his own. So it makes complete sense why he wouldn't listen to Itachi, like, at all.
Yes.
You know?
So even though his character is having a huge paradigm shift, he's still Sasuke. It's not like his character is completely different now. Like, he's still...
I mean, I do think, like, he's... Like, again, it goes back to, like, he's 16 now. Like, how should I still treat him like an adult or a child? Because he's being a little child, a stubborn shit, you could say. Because he's like, fuck you, Itachi, you're not my real dad. I'm not listening to you. Even though, you know, so...
I mean, I don't think he's really either. Because, like, you're 16, so it's kind of that middle ground between adulthood and childhood. So, like, to have these more flippant... I don't know. I feel like that's not the right word to describe it, but, you know, to kind of have that more...
Well, it's...
I don't know, like, you have your own ideals, but also they're open to be changed, to be altered, and so,
well,
like,
a lot of people, like, you know, because, like, a lot of anime and manga, or even just storytelling in general, is focused on high school-age characters, especially in Japan. And, because Digi did his one video on it, like, why there's so much high school... and I actually had a comment on that video because there was one point he didn't bring up because, I feel like he kind of mentions it a bit, so which is why I mentioned it, but, like, high school is like the perfect bridge between child and adulthood, where it's like, because with adult characters, you kind of expect them to have their shit together in some ways, like they have different problems, like but with a child, if they're too young, like, it's harder to justify why they can do, like, anything. Like, you know, Sasuke's like the super genius, so that's why he's even at this level. Still a little sick there. Ooh. You know, but he's also still a kid in some ways, you know, because high school really is that perfect age for storytelling, and Sasuke is what I was trying to say. You know, so it makes sense as why he has childish aspects and, you know, adult aspects, you know, because he was also forced to grow up pretty quick, you know.
Yeah, and he's not the only one. Naruto, I mean, is still called out, even in the Pain arc, for having childish ideals.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But, but I guess as for the Itachi stuff. So I actually do remember what's going on here because there was a video with Mumke and Asperger said some things and people were correcting him on one thing because apparently what's happening with the crow, Naruto swallowing the crow, because he's talking to Itachi and Itachi sees like, hey, this guy, if someone can keep Sasuke on the right path, maybe it's this guy. Like he even has that little slight smile, after like Naruto's like, I never go back on my word, that's my shinobi way.
Yeah.
And Itachi's got like just the faintest smile, and then he forces the crow down his throat, which is a goofy looking panel. But apparently like what's going on there is that it's sort of like it's basically if Naruto sees Itachi or Itachi's eyes, because I think Itachi expected Sasuke to take Itachi's eyes from his corpse. That basically whoever had his Itachi's eyes would be brainwashed into being good, basically. So that's how Itachi breaks out of the Edo Tensei, because Naruto sees a revived Itachi, and so that's what's going on there. But just I just wanted to throw that out there.
There are some of these powers like with Itachi that a lot of them pop up here, and it's like he can do a lot.
It's just, exactly. It just goes back to the sort of like and again, the planning there is fucking ridiculous. Like, I mean, I kind of like that he was wrong, but again, it still comes up conveniently. Like how many, seriously, how many fucking contingencies, holy fuck, I can't say that word, does he just have like lying around that he had in mind but didn't come into fruition because the thing didn't happen? Like, is there just some like trap waiting somewhere that was meant for Orochimaru and he's dead, but like, so Orochimaru will never fall into the trap, but it's still just sitting there because Itachi left it for him. So it's like, it's why I say he's so smart. He rolls back to being stupid because, and if there's any flaw in his logic, it just makes like it should be impossible, but it's just like it should make it more human. But the fact that his intelligence is so inhuman as it is, it doesn't work. I don't think, for me at least. Like it's just a little too far for me. Like Shikamaru, like I was like, oh wow, what a genius solution, putting Hidan in a hole. But it's simple but elegant. So not like the Kakuzu blood thing. That was cool. That was cooler. But but like at least it made sense. Like that's like Kishimoto even said that he had trouble writing Shikamaru because he was smarter. But Itachi's like just so far above. It's just.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, he said he had trouble writing Shikamaru because he was smart, but then you've got Itachi doing all this stuff, and it's like, is Itachi really the one with the 200 IQ? Because, like, the amount of planning and, like, the amount of foresight, how?
Even though he's going blind. I see. And Sasuke's also blind even though he has his eye powers. So, he's blind to the world, I guess, is what, I don't know, we'll see how that goes when we get there. But,
on top of that, we didn't actually mention
Sasuke is going
the
to
thing. Like, what did you think of like Itachi transferring his Sharingan powers into Sasuke? Like,
share your energy with me, spirit bomb. Like, I like. It goes back to what I was saying with Yamato learning the first techniques just by having his DNA with him, where it's just like, these techniques are things that like, I guess the Sharingan is like a Kekai Genkai, but it's just. He's transferring the techniques without like an eye transplant. He just poked him. That was all it took.
And then like Sasuke just has the Mangekyo now.
Well, see, that I figured was because he killed Itachi, just like how he almost killed Naruto. That was fine.
Okay.
But I guess another thing is like, why am I like did he get Amaterasu from Itachi, or is that his unique Sharingan ability? Because the thing, but then he gets Susanoo, so he's got a unique Sharingan. Like it's got the spiral like atom design almost, so it looks unique. But he doesn't have unique abilities. Like he gets Susanoo later. What's his unique Sharingan? Does he not have like? Because it makes sense for like Akashi and Obito because they have the same pair of eyes, or they just split up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
this is more of a
like. I like Sasuke, and especially talking about him, it made me realize, like, I've realized some things just this conversation that I hadn't thought about before. Itachi I don't care for, but the Sharingan's a shit ability. Like, there's just like, if you had a bunch of like circles representing each of the like powers, like ninjutsu would be this massive fucking planet, and Sharingan within it alone would be bigger than like all of genjutsu, like even, there would be some overlap of course, but there would be more like, non-genjutsu Sharingan abilities than there are non-Sharingan genjutsu abilities. So it's like, it's so disproportionate. Like, the Sharingan feels like it's this, this whole thing is being regulated to what, like, 4 characters? One of which isn't even an Uchiha? Like, I don't know, it's just, there's just so much focus on the Sharingan gets, it's like, it's another one of the things where it's like Kishimoto obviously has favoritism, like, he loves these Uchiha characters, and, Sasuke turned out pretty well, Kakashi's alright, can't speak for the other 2, because I don't know Obito yet, but, I guess Madara is a different character, so that makes it 5. And I don't know how many Uchihas get revived during the war. I think it's only Madara, but,
See, I expected this part to be a lot more positive, at least for me, because, like, at this point in the story, I don't think I've ever appreciated Sasuke's character more. But,
yeah. The one bit I didn't like is when, sorry, go on.
Like, I like Sasuke as a character, I just don't like his powers. I'm not a big fan of the Sharingan.
Yes.
Even, this is more of a nitpick.
Take out the Sharingan, he has lightning, he has fire, he's really fast, he's good with the sword.
It's the Sharingan,
just lightning
mainly.
Enough is cool.
Like, the Sharingan is what kind of gets me.
Discord's fucking up, so...
Well, I like his lightning abilities, I like his fire abilities, I like his sword play, I like, his techniques, but it's like the Sharingan is where it starts to lose me. This is just, this is the part of the story where the power scaling is starting to lose me.
In some ways, I agree, yes. Like, there's some stuff later that I'd fine with, but I was gonna say, the one issue I have with this bit is that, Sasuke just suddenly remembers something about Itachi that convinces him, and he's just like, oh yeah, the flashback with Itachi crying, I thought I imagined it, and it just seems like, oh, how convenient of you to remember that at this exact moment, Sasuke.
I don't know if I have a huge problem with that, because I could, I don't know anyone who's ever suffered from, PTSD or any, super traumatic event, but, I'd imagine that, if you go through something that traumatic and, he had this concrete image of Itachi in his mind, so he would, repress that memory, and it would, I know people who have had, they repress memories of their past, and, they forget about them just because, they don't want to revisit them, and so, they just kind of forget about them. But, if something happens to trigger
the worst stuff, I suppose, it just feels a bit too convenient, and it's kind of what pushes Sasuke over the edge to, I'm not sure if it was even necessary. That's the other thing.
That's fair.
It just, again, it feels kind of extraneous, the Itachi being, not quite as bad as the Itachi being plot sick, but I didn't like it. We have so much to discuss. We're not only just now getting into the pain arc, and this is damn near a podcast in itself. Are we finally done with Sasuke and Itachi? We're not done with Sasuke yet, because we have a fight later, but, there was one bit where that only... Tobi tells Kisame about his identity, and Kisame's like, oh, Mizukage Emeritus, and I'm like, okay. So, Tobi is literally 4 characters, and they're all the same, kind of. Or he's gotten 4 names at this point.
Yeah, what is this? What is this Mizukage Emeritus?
Well, because the thing with the Mizukage, because Zabuza killed a Mizukage, and now, because I knew Obito was the Mizukage at one point somehow,
was that brought up?
And I know this is going to come up later. There was mentioned, did you miss it?
I must have missed it, because, he brought up Mizukage Emeritus, and I'm like, who? What?
No, Kisame called Obito Mizukage Emeritus. I'm trying to find the panel. There it is.
I just don't remember it ever being brought up that Obito was once the Mizukage.
I thought that was, I'm pretty sure it's during the war.
Oh, okay.
Or later on.
Okay, maybe that's why.
Because I remember hearing this, so it's not, completely out of nowhere for me. Even though I've never read the material I'm talking about. Where the fuck, what chapter was it? Hold on, I wrote it down.
Yeah, because, at this point, Kisame brings it up, and my reaction is, Gesundheit? What do you
because that's the other thing, is because we also get the names of the lightning, B and A, and they seem to have very, Naruto's been so Jesus Christ, my throat. Naruto's been so 100% Japanese that anything that doesn't Emeritus, that doesn't you could spell it out in Japanese syllables, but it doesn't sound very Japanese as a name, so it's, and then you get the lightning, the land of water ninjas, and it's just it's not quite I wouldn't say it's this is going against the established setting, but it's definitely bringing up alternate like it seems it's just a little weird because again Naruto's so 100% Japanese that anything like because later on we find out about how Kaguya got her powers and she ate an apple from a tree, which is just blatant Christian symbolism, and it's like, why is this heavily Japanese setting like based in like a Christian myth all of a sudden? It just feels really weird. Like what Kishimoto, or maybe there's an apple tree thing in somewhere in Japanese mythology, but it was a really specific thing that maybe, you know what, if that is true, I'd like to know. But as it is, like with my Western perspective, like all I can think of is the Christian implications of an apple from a tree that gives magic ninjutsu powers, or fruit from a tree rather. So I don't know. Did you that's world building stuff. So did you even have a thing? You just thought Emeritus was weird, or did you? I
just had no clue what it was.
Like And did you have any thought on the Lightning Ninjas later, or most of them did have Japanese names, but A and B and Prince. I think they have a backstory that I don't know. That might explain why they're called A and B. And there's another one called J, I think, with so.
I mean, that was fine.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting because there's a foreignness to them because they also have dark skin, which is uncommon in Japan.
Uh-huh.
So that was neat. But it's it's just like it's making me ask questions about the world building I probably shouldn't be asking.
Well, I mean, up to this point, we've mainly focused on like the Leaf Village mostly. I mean, we've had
and
a little
those
bit
around
of the
them, like like the rain.
Yeah, we did
and
have the
sand,
rain too,
and rain this arc mostly, and they're all Japanese names, Gara, Nagato, so. But then you suddenly get these lightning ninjas, and it's like, oh, and even and some of them do have Japanese names, but I don't know. It was interesting though. So yeah, we're getting like multiple conversations here. Naruto finally finds out about Jiraiya, and how did you feel like? Because I like the scene where Iruka like consoles him. That was really good. Which is weird because I've said before, like I don't particularly care for Jiraiya or Iruka, and then the scene with Naruto and Iruka about Jiraiya, like that got me a little bit. I was like, because Iruka was kind of the original one who reached out to Naruto, and here he is sort of like serving as Naruto. See, Naruto's lucky; he has no dad, but he gets like a bunch of dads.
Yeah.
So now I'm with Sakura on making fun of that stupid orphan. I only have one dad, but he's got like 5. So that was a good scene. I liked it. It got a little bit emotional. I didn't cry. Naruto still has not made me cry. I got a little misty at this point though. So this might be the closest. So that's good.
I remember that
it's making me feel things.
I remember that when I first actually I could save that. Well, I mean it's kind of relevant now, but
was there something later that got you?
Well, it was more so like when I first watched the material, it got me, and that was when I was watching the anime. But we'll get. I mean. No, I can just say it now, and then we'll just address it later. Because it didn't happen again, but like when I first watched the Pain arc, the ending did get me a little bit. I got a little teary-eyed at the ending when I first saw it like 3 years ago.
Okay. Wait, okay, cool. We'll definitely talk about the ending.
Yeah,
of the
we'll
Pain
talk
arc.
about the ending.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything because there's the conversation with like where Taka is joining Akatsuki, and I'm trying to remember if anything I wanted to comment on.
Well, you did bring up earlier how he talks about like, oh, the elders must die, the others I don't really care about, but then later he says, well, no, I was just putting on airs for Karin and them.
And I don't know why. Like, do any of them give a shit about Konoha or terrorism? They've been under Orochimaru, so I don't see why they would give it. Like, that was Orochimaru's deal. We just didn't ever like give it. Oh yeah, there's one point. Was it? I don't remember if I mentioned it, but I swear there was a point that it was mentioned. Maybe it was last time, but it's like, no, I think Jiraiya's like, oh yeah, I didn't lose my parents, so I don't know why Orochimaru would want to destroy Konoha. And I'm just like, well, that doesn't answer anything. But I need to find out where that was.
Well, with Sasuke, they go back to it later. He says he wants to slaughter all of Konoha, but by himself. So that's why he was faking. So like, I guess he doesn't want anyone else to bear his burden. Which is still, like, in line with what he had done previously.
Okay, I mean, I still, there's something about the whole destroying Konoha thing that I do want to talk about, but I'll mention it later because it also applies to Pain. But yeah, so yeah, there's nothing really specific about this. Well, because there's a bit where Suigetsu attacks Kasame and trying to remind us that Suigetsu has his own goal and personality, almost barely. Oh yeah, I guess I could say his personality is just not a great one. At least he's not Jugo and Karin. That's nice.
Yeah. But then Tobi just stops the sword with his arm, which was interesting. Because usually people will kind of like block it with something else.
Except not. I like how he's motherfucking Emeritus. I guess.
Watch out for Emeritus.
I can call him 5 things and they are all correct. So anyway, moving on a bit. There was a bit where Tsunade, she cried a bit over Jiraiya. That I don't know. Tsunade is just kind of like she's just there. Like she was I thought she was pretty good during her arc, but since then even this moment, I'm just like, okay, that makes sense why she would be sad. But I don't. It's not doing anything for me. I'm not. I'm not feeling as strongly towards the character these days, and something happens later that I'm not happy with. But, yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about. But I do like the code on the frog's back that they're like passing around to decipher. Like that was neat seeing. There's more like logic and intelligence going on here than anything related to Itachi.
What I thought was kind of interesting though was like when you figure out what the solution is, it's kind of like so Jiraiya came up with this last minute, but then again, like I've never written a book, so I can't relate. But
I would never be able to do something like this. Because I can say I've written fan fiction.
But just like the way that he knows, like, okay, on this page number was this word, and then this page number had this word. That was a bit much. Like I could definitely see what but at the same time, it's like it's creative. Like that's the thing. Yeah, I do
it's
like
just
it.
Like with Jiraiya, it's a creative. Puzzle almost that everyone else had to solve. With Itachi, it's just this thing, and then I'm going to do this. There's nothing creative about it. It's just
and with Jiraiya, like the only person who would be able to put all the clues together was Naruto, because it's just a bunch of fucking numbers. What is this? But it's like no, that's a letter. It's like what? That's a what?
Well, yeah, because Naruto recognizes his handwriting because he's been with them more. So and I also like how they actually had to pay attention to the Japanese because it doesn't work in English. So, and then which kind of hindered it a bit because I like there's like a joke where they write out all the sentences from the pages to crack the code, and Kakashi and Shikamaru just have these looks on their faces, but we can't read what's being said. So there's a whole joke that's just gone. It's funny because before there was the fan service and the man service that they censored, and here they're not localizing anything, so they're fucking up on both sides of the spectrum. Here they're not translating enough, and last time they didn't bring over enough.
See, I kind of just glossed over it because at first I thought it's one of those things where we're not actually supposed to know what's in the book, but you're saying it was actually written down somewhere. So now I'm just like, well, fuck.
Well, no, we were supposed to know what was written in the book because we were supposed to be reading Japanese. It's just in Japanese. If you were a Japanese audience member, you would be able to read this. There would be no, but they didn't translate it. So, because judging by their expressions and what I know about Jiraiya's book, it's likely that they're really, or ecchi, pervy, Oni-chan, treat me gently, that kind of shit. But it's
it's something embarrassing. Tactics.
Yeah, so. It's something embarrassing, but we can't read it, so the joke is just lost. And, because they didn't bother, they didn't translate it. They just focused on the Japanese. So a little disappointing, is not the best localization, there's been other issues thus far. They've been doing fair, so I don't think the translation's bad necessarily. That's the thing about translation too, is because I'm not comparing it to the Japanese, because I don't know Japanese, I mostly notice the bad aspects because they stand out. Well, the good stuff is just, it should be that good. That should be the baseline, but it's, so I can't well, this translation was particularly good because I don't know the Japanese, so I can't praise a good translation. I can only notice a bad based,
All right, our new goal for feels the Nen Show is to learn Japanese, and we'll start reading all of our manga in Japanese from now on, in their original language.
Yeah, so it does feel kind of unfair to the translators, but, I'm sure they're doing their best, and they put in, but at the same time, there's just stuff like this. It's there's a joke here. Just put it, this is why, I do think, putting translation notes in, like, the margins, like, some fan translator will do is too much. But, so what I do like is when they'll put it at the end of the chapter. Like, they'll maybe put, like, a note, like, see translation notes at the end, and with, like, a number 1, and then you go back and hit 1. Oh, this is what they're... So, I don't see why they can't do that. Like, I probably own some volumes with translation notes in the back. But they're not doing that with this. Like, maybe they think kids, the 7-year-old kids who were reading Naruto won't care. But damn it, I'm older than 7. I do care. This is art. You're losing the art in translation, guys. But yeah, I did like this little puzzle. I like that Naruto was the one to figure it out, even though he's normally a dumbass. Like, Shikamaru, like, he's like, I can't figure it out, but Naruto might, and it worked, it was cool. And then there's the science lady who, he, like, tried to make her cute with the glasses and the hair, and I'm like, well, whatever.
You can't have Shikamaru because Tamari already has him.
And Kurenai shows up being pregnant and useless just because, I guess.
See, what this made me think of something, which, I mean, I haven't seen much of Boruto, so I can't really say this, but, like, is that kid in Boruto? Because if I feel like that's
checked.
A huge missed opportunity.
No, I checked. She's I forget the name of the character, but yeah, she's a Jonin. I think she's called, like, Hope, or she's, like, a name like that or something like that. And, yeah, she's a character. I think she's a Jonin. She uses, like, Asuma's sword fist things, because creativity is dead. And all the characters in Boruto are literally, like, that's the one thing the next generation stories are just, like, usually devoid of creativity because they just sort of, like, okay, copy, paste, and then they, like, rearrange it a bit, and I'm not a fan. So...
because I remember watching the first 11 episodes of the anime, and I didn't recall seeing character, and I was like, guys, you had, hello.
Right? Like, this is a character, like made for this, like, they got Konohamaru, he's there, he's a guy. But, no, I checked, because I was curious too, so I just went to the Wikia and was like, Kurenai, okay, daughter, oh, yep, there's a character, cool.
Okay, cool.
So, alright, okay, so, okay, now I think everything's segmented a bit, so, like, Naruto starts his training, we'll talk about his training after this, because first I want to talk about, Taka versus Killer Bee. I totally forgot this fight was coming.
Yeah, I forgot
and I loved
it too.
Yes. So, like, okay, see, I feel like, cause it's really, like, out of left field a bit, because Killer Bee's such a wacky character for Naruto. He's this rapping ninja jumping around with, like, 8 swords, and he turns into an octopus.
Yeah, Killer Bee is.
And I love him! I love him so much.
He's one of those characters that I feel like I should like him ironically because, like, he's such a joke, but I like him because he's such a joke.
Like, and Sasuke, like, completely underestimates him, which, they point out that he doesn't have the curse seal or Orochimaru inside of him. So he just gets blown the fuck out. Like, they all just get blown the fuck out, and it's amazing. Like, I do like Sasuke, but at the same time, seeing him, like, he hasn't had a loss since, like, he had a sort of ideological loss with Itachi, I guess, or maybe not ideological, but some, in that vein. But even though he technically won, and though that was undercut a bit, but he hasn't had just a physical loss like this since part 1. And even then, I can't think of anything this devastating. Like, he got beaten up by, like, Lee, and... Oh, he got killed by Haku. That was probably the closest his most devastating... Even then, it's like, this feels like rougher just because this is a much stronger Sasuke getting destroyed.
Uh-huh.
Like, holy shit, the part where Killer Bee does his lyret, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, probably not.
Oh, yeah.
It's a wrestling move,
the
so you
lariat.
have to correct me on that. Lariat, thank you. I don't watch wrestling, I don't English either. The lariat. And Sasuke's chest is skinned! You see his ribs! And I'm like, holy fucking shit, that's gory! Like, it's not like as gory as it could have.
Because when it first happened, I was like, wait, where'd all the blood come from? And then it showed the panel, and I was like, oh my god, that's a devastating lariat.
Dude, And, like, oh god, I love it, because Killer Bee's so goofy. Like, he has 8 swords, and he wields none of them in his hands. Like, his hands are free to do jutsu. But he's also flipping around like a goofball. I love it. Like, I mean, Naruto's been getting, it's just so, it feels like Naruto's been fairly serious up to this. Like, even Tobi, like, his abilities aren't goofy. His character, like, he's like, I'm Tobi, I'm the derpy, fun guy. But his abilities are like, he just, he lets everyone pass through him,
Yeah.
So but then in this case, you've got, he like, what does he do? It's just like, it kind of, I'm not sure. I don't want to say if it fits because I'm not sure. Does it feel out of place? You know, if it does, I don't mind it because, like, I mean, again, One Piece is my favorite thing, and Killer Bee, if you put him in One Piece, like, he wouldn't be too out of place, you know? So, but I'm not sure if he feels out of place for Naruto.
No, I think he fits. Like, I mean, at
well,
this point,
I guess the one thing...
Because we just came off this super huge, like, I mean, Sasuke had his big paradigm shift, and everything was, like, super dramatic, super serious. His big fight, climactic fight with Itachi. And so to kind of, like, balance that out tonally, you introduce this whack job goofball, this rapper guy.
And of course, right after this, you get the Pain stuff, which goes back to... Yes. Yeah, so it makes sense to have this sort of levity in between, like, the destruction of Konoha and Pain's ideology, and then after, you know, Sasuke and Itachi, and this world-shifting Sasuke getting broken down and having to reform himself, you know? So it makes sense to have this moment of levity in between that, but... I think another issue is, like, well, I've always had this kind of issue, because there's, like, computers and walkie-talkies in this setting, even though it feels very, like, the concept of a ninja is very, it's not modern, it's more of a archaic idea, yeah. But then you have this, like, and now you have this rap, this very modern style of music, and it's just, in that way, I feel like it doesn't quite fit, but that's not, so I guess it doesn't feel out of place in Naruto, because I've never felt as though that quite fit, so... Yeah, that's I can see why some people might like react negatively to Killer Bee, but I love him, so
I feel like I feel like that's kind of the appeal of, like, I mean, it doesn't really feel like I mean, like, at least like that rapping aspect of it doesn't seem like super, like, it feels kind of out of place with Naruto, but that's also kind of the appeal of, I think, his character. Like, I just said that he's not out of place, like, it's good tonal balance, but like I did say that, like, it's good tonal balance, so he's not like out of place in that regard, yes. But certain elements of him are very goofy, they are very un-Naruto, but I think that's why his character works.
Yes, I thought it was great. So, I guess other points on the fight itself, okay, again, the worst parts of the fight, or the worst parts of Taka are everything but Sasuke. Okay, cause, like, Karin, we finally found out what her deal is, cause she's like healer, but you have to bite her, and then Sasuke bites her, and she's, like, clearly turned on, and I'm just like, okay, like, I get that that's your only character trait, but that you like Sasuke, but it's just like, and then, I didn't, I don't know, just Karin's, like, down there in bottom 5 territory, and then Suigetsu is fighting, and he got hit by lightning attack, and he's like, lightning, my weakness, and I'm like, hold the fucking phone, because... See, this is the thing that would have made sense if there wasn't an element system. I hate to beat the dead horse, but Kishi keeps trying to, like, puppet around and pretend this horse is alive, so I have to beat it back down. I'm sorry.
Well, because,
the
like,
element
you think
system
about
is completely...
the Itachi Sasuke fight, when is the elemental system ever mentioned? Is it? I don't recall it.
Well, because you have fire versus fire, but Amaterasu is, like, special fire, so it works, you know? And then that's lightning... Sasuke has lightning and fire. That's, like, it's not there.
But it's not even
here,
like...
It's here, but it shouldn't be. Like, water and lightning have no relation. Lightning beats earth, what beats water again? Wait, maybe, does lightning beat water? No, lightning beats earth, so it can't be water, so what beats water? Water beats fire. No, earth beats water. Yeah, earth beats water. So, they're just completely, they're like at opposite sides. So, but suddenly lightning beats water, or Sugetsu's bad with it. Like, again, maybe there's, like, a thing with, like, the lightning, like, Suigetsu's made of water, and the lightning fucks it up again, but that's just, like, it doesn't feel like it's part of an element system, even though it's clearly an elemental reaction. So it just defeats the point of the element system again. Like, everything still works if you take out the element system, just throwing that out there. The only thing you lose is the bit with Naruto, like, my wind can keep his fire alive, even though it's weak to the lightning, you know? So that's the only thing the elemental system gave us. Like, you could, Kakashi pierced the armor because the lightning blade is really sharp, and it pierces armor. And then we talked about the lightning stuff with Deidara to death, so. And then Jugo's just has no personality still. And he turns into a kid for some reason, because his power is weakness, like, sure.
Yeah, I don't get it. I still don't care.
It's magic. It's fucking magic. And, of course, Sasuke is, like, my friends, like he has a bit of an emotion there where he like because he uses the Amaterasu that I guess he wasn't going to use before, because again it's like Itachi, he wants to be himself, he doesn't want to rely on what Itachi's given him, but then he caves when it comes to defending his new friends, who he wouldn't say is his friends, but he did it, so just throw that out there.
But I did think that was sort of interesting that, because at first what I had thought with Sasuke was like he has his big paradigm shift and then he just kind of gives up on all his attachments, but here he shows like a clear moment of like actual like human connection, because like he wants to protect his allies, he wants to like not let them get destroyed by Killer Bee, so that's cool.
Yeah. And then, well, he also then suddenly like pulls out I can stop him Amaterasu too. That's neat. Like, okay, I mean, sure, I can buy it. I'm
sorry, Discord cut out. He pulls out what?
He stops the Amaterasu from killing Karin, because it's like supposed to be this all-consuming fire, but then he just like he just looks at it and he stares at it and it goes away, and he's just like, I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah, I thought that was sort of cool how that happened. He's just kind of like, oh no, we gotta save her. How can I do this? And he just kind of spontaneously discovers the anti-Amaterasu. What would you call it?
Sure, yeah, an off button to his attack. So yeah, and he does it to save Killer Bee, who turns out to actually be a tentacle that Killer Bee transformed. Like he hit into a severed tentacle, and then he turned another one into himself so that they could take the body thing. Like, he turns, like, he fights these guys, he fends them off, he makes them look like idiots so he can take a vacation. Like, I mean, that it's less that he planned that and more that came out organically, but it's just so good, you know? So, I mean, is it at Sasuke's expense? Yeah, but Sasuke will have more moments to shine later. Let him have a lot. Like, you know, let him have a loss. So, oh god, it was so good. And I just love the pun. I don't even know if it works in Japanese, but octopus, like what is, like, the, you know, 9-tailed fox, 2-tailed cat, 1-tailed raccoon, 8-tailed ox, and octopus monster demon thing. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't fit lightning either, but it's night. I'm not, like, parts of the design are, like, I don't know, something about him looks weird, like his his body is weird, something about it, but other than that, it's fine. Like, the head is fine, the tentacles are fine. I don't know,
I thought it was interesting how in the fight, like, well, at the end of it, Jugo talks about, like, how Itachi's still weakened from his fight with Itachi, Itachi is still weakened. Sasuke is still weakened.
He did it twice!
Yeah, Sasuke is still weakened from his fight with Itachi. So, yes. So in this fight, he relies very heavily on his Sharingan, because he can't use his other techniques really, because he's still kind of spent, and so then you kind of get the backlash with his eyes.
It's like he thought he was going 100, but he was actually going 50, and he can't get close to 100 because he's I mean I don't think he quite realized his capabilities, because because
he goes into this fight, it's like, this is going to be a fine fight, we're not going to get pushed this far, and then it's like, no, you're actually kind of wrecked.
Yeah. So, no, it was a fun fight, and got some cool stuff out of it. Mostly for Killer Bee, who's probably my favorite. No, he's not my favorite character. I'd still say Sasuke is my favorite at the moment, but maybe. But Killer Bee's now up there, which doesn't happen with a character. Like, I've just been like, Hinata, I guess, exists, Rock Lee's cool. Shikamaru's there. Oh, fucking Killer Bee, motherfucker! Oh shit, yeah! So, so that was fun. Alright, so did you have anything else to say on the fight? Or can we move on to Naruto's training?
Yes. Because I think Naruto's training comes next. Yeah.
Well, it's already been kind of going concurrently with the fight. I just thought, discussion-wise, it'd be easier, because fights are easy to discuss. Like, we just did that in, 5-10 minutes? That was cool. I wish everything... No. Oh, man. But, so anyway, Naruto's training. So, at first... I wasn't super into it because, there's no good character moment that comes out of this, I'd say. Like, through learning to be one with nature, he doesn't learn, patience or anything, I don't think. Or at least not more than normal. But, thinking about it after watching the fight, it's because I've mentioned how training affects world building, and, a lot of these aspects, like nature chakra, who else uses nature chakra? Probably no one. But, the ways that the elements are used in the fight are really cool. So I'm ultimately kind of fine with because it's a long training arc. Like, there's other stuff happening, but it takes a while for it to happen, you know? Like, it doesn't end until, like, Pain's already invading Konoha. So, anyway, what did you think about the training arc as a whole? Like, I want to find some specifics. But,
so yeah, like, there was no real character growth or character moment attached to the training arc itself. But I did think it was sort of cool. Like, nature chakra was an interesting addition.
And I mean, there's definitely some like convenient moments, like, oh yeah, this oil will help you learn Sage Mode, but you can't take the oil out of the... Oh shit, I totally forgot. Okay, so I had some misconceptions about how summoning worked, and apparently, like, I thought there was like this whole like frog dimension and this whole snake dimension that they summoned from, which is, I don't know why I thought that. And apparently, so, because they're still in the, there's just this big mountain that the toads just live at, and I guess I don't really know, like, they don't really explain, like, okay, how, are these toads just sentient? Are they just sentient toads that ninjas, like, form pacts with? Like, it feels like there's this, like, long established, like, thing, but I don't know, ninjutsu? How old is ninjutsu, I guess? Like, cause it's only been, like Madara is only, you know, isn't that old. Like, it's not like it's been like 1 million years, you know, 1,000 years. Like, even the Sage of Six Paths isn't like super old. Like, he's a few centuries old, maybe, but he's not like, I don't know how long. I don't know. It just made me think about the world building and just a bit, which was fine. But yeah, there's just this mountain with frogs, and I guess there's got to be like a swamp for snakes. There's just a bunch of snakes that get summoned and stuff. So.
Yeah, I guess
but
with the training arc, I didn't really have anything super significant to say about it. Although there was one gag that pops up near basically the end of the training arc that I thought was super hilarious. When because Naruto gags don't typically get me to laugh, but there's this one moment where like he's on top of the spikes and he's learning balance and whatever, and then he like masters his like he basically masters Sage Mode, or all but does it. And then he says, I kind of get now what it means to become one with nature. And then a bird lands on his shoulder and he falls. I was just like, that's a great punchline.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm trying to think of what else I have to say about it. Maybe I don't have much to say about it because, you know, I mostly what I like about it comes in through the fight. You know, I going through it, I was just like, I'm not sure, like, do we really need to know all these details? But then the way it comes back is pretty cool. So, and there's some other cool moments about it. So, oh, well, I guess the biggest thing is he reads I love when he's reading Jiraiya's book, and he's, like, crying. Like, he's such a doofus, you know? Like, and though there's another cool thing about when he's reading the book that comes back later. Maybe I'll remember more about Naruto's training later, but, yeah, well, I guess, how do you feel about Naruto mastering it fairly quickly? Like, this is like, I have no reason to assume this isn't like a day of training. Like, I'm not sure about the time. Like, how much, cause, okay, Sasuke, like, I guess at least a day or two passed between, you know, Sasuke fought Deidara and Itachi in one day, and then Naruto went to train, and so he's maybe been training for, but we don't see, I think that, like, in 2 days, like, he seems to master Sage Mode. And I guess the idea is that Naruto's finally he's just good, he's just good at it, or maybe just work, cause he's not really doing a lot of clone practice. Like, this was way easier to learn Sage Mode than it was to learn the Rasen Shuriken, is what, you know, I get from it. So, did you have an issue with that, or anything to say on that?
I mean, I don't know, I guess I wasn't I guess I thought it was fine. Yeah, I mean. Well, at the end of it,
how he finally masters it is just sort of like, looking left, like trying to move and you know, and stay still in a fight. It's like trying to gather nature chakra in a fight is like trying to look left and right at the same time. And Naruto's like, oh
yeah, that was pretty cool. So though. Like the way he
that was cool.
So like I guess in thinking about it like that way, because like so I guess I don't know if you'd call that a character moment, but like he's kind of already like that whole like looking to the left and right at the same time thing. In a sense, he's already kind of done this training before with the Rasen Shuriken. Like, yeah, it's not obviously new. Not the same training, but like the solutions are similar. Like he kind of has to use a similar approach to it. So in that sense, I think it's like I don't have as much of a problem with him mastering it quicker than he did before. Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, at the same time, it's just the same thing again, you know. So it's not exactly new. It's just training, you know. It's like what we're learning about Sage Mode and how it works, you know, is new. But the actual like how he overcomes it, like, you know, like he doesn't like with the getting still, like there's no trick to it. He just figures it out, you know. Like he just there's some neat like with the balancing on the stalactite or stalagmite. I don't know which was which.
and such. But like you just it just kind of happens, which is fine. But like I like mostly what I like about the training arc is how it comes into the fight later, the Naruto versus Pain. Though I guess there's some other stuff like or do we have anything else to say on the training arc?
No, not really. Not on the training itself. Because
there's also the we get a little bit of the lightning, the Raikage and the Kumagakure ninjas. We see like we're introduced to a couple new characters who will definitely come up in the next arcs. I seem to remember them at least. And I don't know, they're quirky, I guess.
Yeah, I thought that trio that got brought up was kind of interesting. I mean, like the way that the guy is always like overthinking things. Like,
yeah, well, that was
relatable.
funny. Like I like the joke where the one like kicks the rock, and he's like, "What if the rock like hits hits another rock and hits another rock?" And then they're like, "Oh no, we destroyed Konoha!"
Yeah. that was funny.
That was pretty good. But other than that, like they didn't do it. Like maybe I don't know. He's just like
they haven't really had.
He's got to introduce his characters, and he's got to give them personality, make them stand out, and he does. And it's like okay, it's like it's not amazing, but it's serviceable.
Yeah, they haven't really done much yet, so there isn't a whole lot to say about him.
Yeah, but I just thought I'd mention them. And of course you get a little bit of like, A's like, oh no, Killer B, I'm like, fuck, Akatsuki will not be forgiven. I will destroy them. So you have a sort of, he's a Jinchuriki who's being accepted by his village. Like, I mean, he's already like mastered his transformation, which is something like, oh yeah, that's right, because we saw the second-tailed, earlier, who's also from the village, and she transformed into her beast. And so I feel like, since Killer Bee can do the same thing, it's likely that she was trained by him, So that's sort of a retroactive, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so, but, alright, so now, actually, we're getting through some of this stuff pretty fast. We're like, we only have like 2 major things to discuss. Though they're pretty big things. Alright, so, next up is Pain's invasion of Konoha. And, I'll say right off the bat, this is what, like, Orochimaru's invasion of the Konoha should have looked like. Like, cause with that, it's like, oh, we see a bunch of Jonin fending off things, and then it turns out half the ninjas in the village died. And I'm just like, wait, hold the fuck up. But this, you get the sense of destruction. Like, there's so much, like, he's fucking up buildings, he's beating the shit out of ninja, like, named characters are, at risk, and, like, not as, like, we'll talk, they're not necessarily at risk of dying, and even if they do die, like, yeah.
See, one thing that kind of tripped me up at the beginning of this was they, like when they were first entering the village, and they're talking about this barrier, this like detection barrier, and they're anyone who enters will be like detected, and the village will be notified. But like the sound ninja slipped in pretty easily, that like they were undetected.
Well, as I understood, what I kind of figured is the tuning exams were going on, so it's likely that you could say that they knew about who entered the village, or you could say, well, I guess like because they say that Itachi slipped in because he knows the village. He was Anbu,
I'm thinking like the Sound 4. Like this was after the tuning exams. This was after Tsunade became Hokage.
Oh yeah, that's fair. See, well now I'm wondering what information Orochimaru gave them. Like, cause you could sort of like wave it away with that.
Because like apparently Itachi knew some, what was it described as? Like some sort of pass code. Yeah, Itachi was part of the Black Ops. He knew the jutsu code to get through the barrier. So like maybe Orochimaru had something similar and he just passed it on.
Well, if it was any other character but Orochimaru, like the jutsu maniac, like he's the one, like, and he's also a Sanin, he's pretty powerful. So like, if the Sound 4 were like, minions of like Zabuza, I would be like, wait, hold the fuck up. But since they're minions of Orochimaru, like if there's any one character who would know about the barrier, it would probably be Orochimaru. He's a former Konoha ninja, he's the jutsu maniac, so like I can kind of understand the Sound 4 being able to slip in with Orochimaru's like he probably guided them, though it's a little but not terrible. So, and I do kind of like the Pain's, like, trick where he goes in as one person and he summons, like, 5 more, and it's like, wait, what? Like, there's nice tactics on his end where he's like, he's got the diversion crew, and then he's got the interrogate people to find Naruto crew. So, it's cool. And then
there are a bunch of elements that I really like about the setup of this arc. Like, I really love how this giant, like this giant arc breaks out seemingly like out of nowhere, like with like the people in Konoha are still trying to look into the intel about Pain, so they're completely unprepared for this. Like they're still in the middle of like plot developments that you'd think like maybe in another narrative those plot developments might have been expounded upon and like completed before this happened, but no, they just show up before, like they have to still like piece things together as their village is being destroyed. I just like, I don't know, it really like it comes out of nowhere, like Pain's arrival for them, at least like for the characters in the world, and I think that's really cool. It really kind of adds to the desperation of this fight because nobody was prepared for it, and then people start dropping left and right, and it's like holy crap. And I really like how this is where I feel like, because I'm thinking of what the Great Ninja War should be, and like this arc, I almost feel as though this arc will do better what the Great Ninja War was trying to do.
And I already mentioned that it did better what the Sand Sound Invasion was trying to do. You know,
well, like
so,
with the,
but it makes sense for an author to improve. I don't think it would have worked
as well for Orochimaru's invasion, just because there weren't like Oh, and then again, I guess most of the characters who show up here were part of that arc, so forget that. But here,
well, like I can't think of anyone who's really like well, with last time there's like where's Kurenai? You know, like I don't even like what was Guy doing again? I don't remember. But there's characters who should have been there but weren't, and this time it's like, oh, where's Sai and Yamato, and then we see them outside the village later. I'm like, oh, where's Guy and Lee and Neji? And I'm like,
that's another detail to really play into this idea that nobody was ready for it, because you have characters who are just gone, they're off doing their own things, and so like there's a reason why not everyone's there. But then on top of that, like with this arc, you're getting not just side characters are getting a chance to shine, but like relatively minor ones. Like Ibiki shows up; he's got stuff to do. You're introducing like the
Ebisu,
families of the characters who like have never really popped up before, or maybe have popped up once. So like even then, you're introducing these newer characters, but they like it only continues to add weight to like this is an at-home assault. Like these are these everyone is at risk here, and so it makes sense that all of the characters that have been introduced up to this point have a stake. They play a role in this big fight because it's their village. So this is the perfect setting for all these characters to return and have an impact.
Well, and you mentioned setting too, because Konoha as a whole, it feels it's a memorable location, but there are individual parts that aren't memorable. Like you don't the ramen shop. No, it's just the ramen shop. If it was, you wouldn't be able to recognize it. But it's like, but the characters are Konoha, so that's a good observation. That the fact that they're involved in this, that they are Konoha, is the people in it. These characters that we've come to know or been mentioned in throughout the series. So, which like there's skipping ahead a bit. There's when Pain blows up the city, like. I honestly I wanted to like that scene, but it was just so abrupt. Like there was only there was more pages for the reveal of Sasuke after the time skip than there were for Pain destroying Konoha. Like there was like 3 pages, or maybe if you count 5, if you count like 2-page spreads. So, but the 2-page spreads don't let it sink in as much. Like there weren't. Like, they showed the rubble covering the heads of the village, but like again, there's no unique locations within the village to really. So the destruction didn't really work for me. Like, I was just like, okay. And then immediately after Naruto shows up, and it just feels like very abrupt.
Well, the problem with it for me was like, it cut to Sakura, like, gathering her whereabouts, and like, she looks shocked. And I feel as though, like, the next panel immediately cuts to her being like, no, this is terrible. And then she cries out for Naruto. But I feel as though after that moment of shock, we should have seen, like, pages upon pages of, like, characters being wrecked, like the village just in shambles, but it's like
how many people died, but we don't see any of that. Like no named character died in that explosion. We don't see any bodies. Like it's so undersold, like interesting comparison. The Akira manga, which of course Kishimoto loves the film. There lots of when the destruction happens, it goes on for pages. You see shit get destroyed. You see the people involved in what they're trying to do to survive. Like it works. But in this case, there's not enough time. Like I feel like just one more chapter of like just have just really just focus on the destruction. It would be devastating. Though there would still be issues with that from later. But that's just what. And the other fact is that you just mentioned is it doesn't focus on the characters during the explosion. Like you see Sakura. And you kind of see everyone around, but there's no sense of weight to it because the characters are what matters when it comes to Konoha.
Yes.
But you don't see that during the explosion, so that it just falls flat.
Yeah, that really is a big problem with that part specifically, because up to that point, you have chapters upon chapters.
Oh, yeah,
you get to
just
showcase all of these
buildings
characters doing stuff, so it kind of surprises me that there's no, like, reaction to this big explosion. Because, like...
Yeah, it's... Well, it's weird that you get, like, even before, like, when the start of the invasion starts, you get these buildings blowing up and random ninjas freaking out. Like, that hits you more than the big explosion of Konoha getting nuked. And it's like, well, okay, that's unusual. I wonder if maybe it's just, like, too big for the manga, in a sense. Like, hey, you couldn't really show the devastation. Because Akira is a seinen manga. It's aimed at adults. So, but this is supposed to be a kid's manga. Like, a whole chapter of just Konoha getting destroyed would be... Like, maybe the editor was like, the kids read this stuff, dude, you can't do that. And it's like, yeah, I guess. But
I also heard, like...
It's a bit...
I also heard a rumor that would have tied into a rant that I was going to have about Tsunade, but I've realized that, like, I couldn't find a source for it, so I don't know how legitimate it is, but apparently there's a rumor that, like, maybe with some of these later chapters, it was getting to, like, the editors wanted to, like, end or start the year on, like, this certain note, and so, like, maybe he just didn't have enough time to fully flesh that out. But again, it's unsourced, so I wouldn't put... I couldn't find a source for it, so I wouldn't put too much.
For the source, you would actually want to look at the chapter release dates, because they have, like...
See, because I looked at the chapter... Well, like, the problem was, like, I couldn't look up specific chapter release dates. I was looking up the volume release dates, but from what I was seeing, like, the volumes were released, like, especially that around that part, were, like, the middle of the year, so... I think it's highly unlikely.
You don't want to look at... go on.
Well, then again, like, I'm assuming the rumors would start with people. Sorry. I would assume that, like, people who started the rumor for that had been reading it weekly, so maybe these chapters did come out towards the end of, I guess it would have been 2008.
The year. Yeah, well, because the holiday cliffhangers are definitely a thing, because I remember several from One Piece, where there's this huge moment that happens right before it takes a break for the holiday. So, it's definitely a thing that happens, so I can see the editors pushing him to do this specific thing, but I don't remember when the chapters came out, so you'd have to, and which chapters you're referring to, so you'd have to, like, I think the wiki, if you go to the individual chapter page, it should have the date that it aired,
well, that's
the Monday
what I thought.
that it,
I looked up the chapter
out,
on the Naruto Wikia, the specific chapter where I thought it would apply, but I didn't see a date, so... I don't know.
Oh, the One Piece one has dates, so the Naruto Wiki, get your shit together. Narutopedia. So you'd have to find another source, so I don't know where you would look. The Wiki was just my first guess. That's a shame. But, interesting.
But
so
we did jump...
Yeah, okay.
We did jump ahead past a lot of other details to get to that big explosion.
I just wanted to mention that one specifically because it ties into the destruction that happens now. Like, we're gonna go back to the other fighting.
Yeah, that's what I felt, like, that explosion and maybe, like, a couple of other details I do think fall flat, but for the most part, the setup for this arc was, I think, done spectacularly. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, this was, like, between the Sasuke Itachi, like, developments and then this part here, like, I have not been more invested in the Naruto story up to this point.
Absolutely.
Like, this was...
Like, just the first you get the Killer Bee stuff in Naruto's training, and then now this fucking pain shit, and it's just like, oh, fuck! And that's important too, what some things I'll have to say later, but it's just cool. So anyway, about the fighting itself, where you had all the pain clones, and everyone figuring out the powers, and holy fucking shit, pain is strong. Like... I'm trying to think of, like, any specific moments I liked. Because, you get to see Choji and his family, and Kakashi does some fighting.
I can't really think of, like, any specific moment where, like... I mean, not until, like...
Oh, there was this one bit I liked where the two... what's Choji's last name?
Akamichi.
Akamichi? Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, because I don't want to say, like, the Choji clan. And for some reason I was thinking Aburame, but that's Shino. But yeah, they like, do the thing where they, Kakashi attacks Pain, and then they charge in at Pain, but then it turns out that there was, like, a chain trap, and then that was pretty cool. But then the other Pain body jumps in. That was a cool little trick. Though, and then while this is happening, they're sort of like all the researchers are trying to figure out Pain's deal, they're passing information along, so it's a war of information, almost. So, to get all the, so that they can best deal with the assault, because this is just one fucking guy, all pretty much, in 6 bodies, just fucking wrecking the village. I mean, with Tsunade, like, I'm not super fine with how they handle Tsunade, because she kind of gets written out with she's just the medic. She's healing everyone.
Yeah,
and so by the time she actually gets to the position where she can fight pain, she doesn't do anything.
Yeah, because like the big thing that I had heard, which building off of that like rumor I was talking about earlier, was that apparently Tsunade was gonna fight pain, or that like possibly could have happened, but it didn't happen. Which like again, I don't have a source for that, so I can't. Yeah. I'm not too behind that, but I mean, like. The more I think about it, if she did fight Pain here, I mean, we obviously know she would have had to lose because Naruto would have probably jumped in to save the day. But like, I mean, like I think it would have been beneficial for her character, but for like the arc, was it necessary that she fight Pain?
Yeah,
not
it's like
necessarily.
She had to lose or not fight, but she also couldn't not fight. And the way, well, I guess we'll talk about the exact moment later. But yeah, it's just a shame that, I mean, because she is one of the strongest in the village. And the other thing is that, like, she spends so much energy healing everyone, but it doesn't matter because pain brings everyone back to life. So, her contributions are negligible, even though she spent so much effort on basically nothing. Like, man, like, I just realized that and I'm like, well, fuck.
I mean, like, obviously for her character, like, she gives her all, but like, yeah, in the grand scheme of things retroactively, it's...
Nothing matters. Thanks, nihilism.
Great. And this will certainly play into what will probably be another Tsunade rant later on down the road.
Yeah.
But,
though we might come back to that later. But, so one bit that I thought was kind of weird. So there's this Ebisu, Konohamaru's in trouble. Ebisu comes in, or no, or I forget exactly how it goes out, but, so we get this nice little flashback of, sort of the village's opinion on Naruto through the years.
I was wondering what you'd have to say about this.
Yeah, I kind of like, I do kind of like it, even though, again, the negative opinion was never represented in an actual character, except Mizuki and Ibisu to a lesser extent. So that was kind of, Oh yeah, and I guess Danzo, but even then, not really. Like, Danzo's basically just been like, throw away Konoha evil, like, throw all the evils of Konoha onto him. Like, he kills the frog.
And even then, he's like behind the scenes, so it's not like he's ever confronted Naruto and been like, hey, you suck.
Yes.
Kill
yourself. Well, then there was the other bit where Danzo's with all his root guys, and they're like, hey, shouldn't we go, stop the village from getting destroyed? And he's like, nah. It's cool. It's because he's evil, so of course he's doing evil things. But yeah, so, this is a bit, that you get this little arc of everyone, like, coming to, I hope Naruto's okay, and then, he's, like, because I guess the question is, like, why are they so resolute against pain? Like, because that's the thing, is, like, he gets the information, and, it's like, oh, okay. Like, he even says that he's gonna leave. I mean, he destroys the village first, because fuck you. But, he might, like, if he got the information, like, immediately, he might have just left, Like, I'm not sure if he would have destroyed the village. Like, maybe I'll have my memory jogged later when I'm skimming through that part. But, this village is supposed to have hated Naruto, so this flashback is important for establishing why no one just sells out Naruto, like, immediately, because everyone's, like, so, which I guess is part of the issue, because, like, we never saw that negativity in the first place, and judging by the flashback, it was gone by, pretty much, like, once he won against Neji. Like, at that point, everyone's like, oh, Naruto's like, oh, cool, like, there's none of this negativity. Like, the negativity stops. Like, with the Zabuza stuff, they're like, oh, Naruto didn't do anything. It must have been Kakashi and Sasuke who defeated Zabuza. Like, that was the last negativity they had towards Naruto in the flashback. So, it's just gone, but well before this point. So, it was necessary, it's like, there's no problem with this. It's just that it's also mentions a problem that's sort of been throughout the manga since the beginning, pretty much.
So, like, it works, but, like, it could have been much stronger if that negativity had been fleshed out. Yes, So, at this point, it's good that there's no negativity because, Pain's fucking everything up and they need to stand with Naruto. So, like, the difference was, like, with Gaara back in the Kazekage rescue, it kind of seems like, oh, everybody just likes him now.
Oh,
like,
Gaara, that makes no sense at all because Gaara's, like, Naruto's done nothing wrong. Like, he failed to get Sasuke back, but he never killed anyone. Gaara how much blood is behind him? Like, he's killed children, I'm sure, just as a kid, like, and then everyone's just like, oh, Gaara, he's the coolest, and it's like, I hate oh god, that was probably like one of my least favorite moments in the series. I'm just thinking back and I'm like, ah!
Although I did figure it would be, maybe not necessary to bring that up, but it'd be a good thing. Just
I
to,
hadn't thought about
show,
why'd you bring it up? It hurts.
Well,
because
like
do that.
to show like this is why Gaara's was bad, but this is what the Naruto
Yes,
stuff.
thank
does
you,
correctly.
or at least better. Not maybe good, but better, definitely. But anyway, Konohara gets this cool moment where he uses a Rasengan.
Yes.
Though he uses the shadow clones to do it, and I'm just kind of like, so anyone like I don't know. I don't know Konohara. Like Konohara's gotten so little screen time up to this point. I don't really know how because he's been getting personal training from Ebisu, so it makes sense that he'd be strong. But
I guess the thing is like because he had done like shadow clones because Naruto did shadow clones and he did the sexy stuff because Naruto did the sexy stuff. So he does the Rasengan shadow clone style because that's what Naruto does. But like I feel isn't he supposed to be? I mean, like he's the grandson of the third, so I thought he was kind of supposed to be more naturally gifted. So it's I don't know, maybe he just kind of
really see whether or not or what level he is because he's also been trained by Ebisu like probably his whole life, so it makes sense why he'd be talented. But we never even see like how good is he related to his team or the rest of his class. Is he at the top of his class? We have no idea. It's never mentioned. Like, we have no idea how strong Konohamaru is for his position. Yeah. So, and it makes me question it because, like, the Shadow Clone thing, it's like, if Konohamaru can do the Shadow Clone Rasengan, can he do Shadow Clone training, even with just one other Shadow Clone? Like, it was mentioned as a thing only Naruto could do, and at that level, yeah, he's the only one who can do it, but even just one or two extra clones is a pretty big boon, So
yeah,
and this is just making me question that again. And it's like this said, like Shadow Clone is like the strongest technique in the series, and it goes unmentioned. So yeah, so that's what this Rasengan like. I guess it's cool because it's like Konohamaru, he's like Naruto's pupil. And, so he's living up to his young sensei, but it's also like just making me think of all the other things, and I'm just like, So
one of the cool things just with this arc, because like we had it with Sasuke and Itachi, that was Sasuke's big moment, but here like there's a lot of build up to things that happen. Like you're flashing back to like chapter 2 when Konohamaru does his big Rasengan, so he gets his big moment, and even like Ebisu who's just a joke guy, but he shows up and he does stuff. It's just
because we were laughing at him because when Jiraiya just come like Ebisu's got some cool training. Oh, Jiraiya's way better. Okay, but then now he's like he gets a cool moment without actually doing it. Like he tries to fight Pain. That's pretty fucking ballsy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a ninja, he's a soldier. That's kind of is expected of him.
And you kind of get a bit of a character moment as well because like he doesn't sell out Naruto, so it's like I hated you once, but now we're cool, yo.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like after Mizuki, he's like the most hate guy who's been most negative about Naruto from the Leaf, pretty much. So it's nice to see that. It's cool. It's a cool character moment, and I like it. But so I like that all these, like you said, these side characters are getting focused. Though I guess there's, one thing we didn't talk about was the Pain and the Akamichis versus, or Kakashi and the Akamichis versus Pain, rather, where Choji's dad almost dies. Kakashi does die. But then they come back. But then it comes back.
Like, see, the biggest problem with this arc is that it all gets undone at the end, which we'll discuss more in depth later. But like, at the moment, I almost felt like his death was a little underwhelming, but also I think that was kind of the point because like it just shows
because he died from chakra exhaustion. The one thing no one ever dies from.
Chakra exhaustion.
But go on, or you said something. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it just kind of goes to show how fucking strong Pain is, because like the fight seems kind of underwhelming because like they don't get to do a whole lot. They just get stomped. But I mean, like
what? Just two of them, take out the Akamichi Senior, and Kakashi dies. Like maybe three, and even I think Kakashi was even like Jiraiya fought 6 of these guys. He's just like. Jesus Christ, and it also goes back to what earlier with Kakashi, he's like, if Naruto learns a Rasen Shuriken, he'll have surpassed me, and now we see quite, like, in no uncertain terms, Naruto has surpassed Kakashi by the end of this arc, so. And
I do think, like, as far as, like, if a character had to die, like, they pick Kakashi, how do you feel about that? Like, do you think that was a good one to go with?
Well, see, the thing with Kakashi specifically is, okay, let's kind of imagine what would have happened if Pain didn't bring everyone back to life. Kakashi still needs to be alive because of Obito. Yeah. So I think Kakashi was like a terrible, like, it's a pretty impactful choice because holy shit, he just killed like one of the top 3 characters of the manga. If that stuck, that would have been huge. People would always remember, even if, no matter how bad Naruto got, they would have thought of, man, this series had the balls to kill off such a popular character, you know? Mm-hmm. But he kind of had to stay alive because of Obito, you know, like, and so it doesn't, he was a pretty bad choice for a character to die, you know? And again, like, I don't care, like, I don't particularly, like, I've never been a huge Kakashi fan, so, like, his conversation with the White Fang, like, okay, there's an afterlife in Naruto, that's cool. And then...
Yeah, so then I just feel like it had to be him, because, like, well, we gotta resolve this White Fang thing.
Yeah, but again, I'm trying to think, like, what do I take, what should I take from that? Because I don't particularly care about either of these characters. You know, the White Fang was just a guy, like, Kakashi Chronicles was a thing. Like, it's fine. I just don't, how do I... and then they really just sort of restate, like, they came to terms with things, and it's like, yep, we're cool now, you know, and yeah, that's nice. Like, does it, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, cause did it really, like, tie in to the rest of the arc in any way? I guess not.
No, the main thing, he's just kind of like, oh, you've forgiven me, son, now I can proceed on and meet with your mother.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, I was waiting for that to happen, yeah, that's, no, I wasn't, I didn't care. But, so, it's, yeah, whatever. But then, of course, again, it gets undercut later, so it's like, whatever. It's, I don't want to be dismissive, but it's just,
See, like, I don't think there would be, like, the problem with, like, discussing this now is that, like, we've gone through the whole arc, and so, like, we know that Pain reserrects everybody, which kind of puts it kind of dampens everything.
Well, it's kind of hard to, like, suspend myself and put, like, what would I have thought about in the moment? Cause Kakashi's death was really more of a whimper than a bang, you know, he dies of chakra, like, Pain doesn't even kill him, like, Pain could have killed him, like, cause Kakashi was kind of stuck, but he, you know.
Yeah, Kakashi dies.
And, well, I guess there's
Choji.
Yeah, there's the theme of the, you know, the older generation, you know, like, I guess that, they're just reusing that theme again, you know, Tsunade's like, we need to trust in Naruto, and Kakashi dies protecting Choji, you know, so there's that theme again, but it's not, and then, it's not major, like, it's just an old theme being used again, so it doesn't feel like, whoa, like, okay, but, so yeah, it's not super great. It's not a major thing either, it's just like a little thing that's, yeah, I'm trying, I'm gonna stop trying to force myself to say.
But I do, like, when it happens, I do like how Kakashi's death is more of a whimper than a bang.
Yeah, it's because you wouldn't expect that from such a major character. But of course it doesn't stick, so whatever.
Well, that and it does kind of, like, at the moment, it, like, builds up, like, just how, I mean, I did say it, like, how strong Pain is, because, like, these three put up a fight, characters, like, Kakashi dies, but it's like, yeah, but they really didn't accomplish much, did they? Because even then, like, the Pain that they destroyed just gets rebuilt, so...
Yeah, well, and they did get information to Tsunade about the Pain, his time limitation, which is hugely important, for his gravity powers, so that they kind of saved the day. So I guess, yeah, I'd say they did something, you know. I mean, Naruto might have been able to figure that out on his own, but he kind of barely won, so yeah, I'll accept it. You know, Kakashi died to save the day, indirectly, but then he came back, so whatever. But I guess moving on a bit, I do like this big page of Konoha as a whole, like with Pain above it, like a god. You could say, wink. Oh my god, too deep for me. And the Hokage Mount Rushmore thing. Well, I like how that you can see, if you look closely, you can actually see like a stairway to get to the top of it. Like, so he had that's a nice little detail. Cause there's buildings above it, you know, so, and then of course, like that really cool castle in the Search for Tsunade arc, all this detailed artwork, like, it's not copy-paste at all. There's a bunch of, like, unique looking buildings. Again, none we would recognize, I don't think. And like, maybe I could find the Academy if I, like, found a picture of the Academy, because I don't know what the Academy looks like. We've only seen it, like, once from the outside, maybe, you know? So, and, like, where's the Kage building? Maybe it's this one. I don't know. It's so, but yeah, it's still a neat little spread of the whole village, you know? Like, how much time did he spend on that? How many assistants did he get on that?
Just to blow it up.
Just to blow it up, exactly. Like, yeah, seriously, the background art is really good this arc. Like, I just looked at this panel of when his gravity bomb first goes off, and you just see the people in the street, and there's the buildings look good, and then they're gone. Everything's gone. Like, it's kind of a shame that the final fight does just take place in a wasteland, but at the same time, it is the wasteland of Konoha, so it's fine. But
see, again, I keep thinking back to like the Great Ninja War as far as like build up goes, because like with here, and I mean, we'd be able to discuss the Ninja War more later
after
on. But like,
I actually read it for the first time,
yeah, from what I remember, and from what people tend to say, that arc tends to drag, which I could see the same complaints kind of being lobbed at this, only why it works here is that, like, obviously it's attacking the Leaf Village, so it's right there at home, so it's very resonant in that regard for the characters. Like, we know the characters care about this place. Then you have all the characters who have been introduced prior, like you have Ibiki, Ebisu, all these more even just side characters the family is getting brought in. And you have all these little conflicts
on the side.
You have all these little conflicts which continue to... Because, like, Naruto's not even here yet, and we all know that we're just waiting for Naruto to show up. That's what everyone's waiting on. That's what Tsunade's banking on. So, like, in theory, none of these fights really matter, but they still work. Like, they still strike an emotional chord because, like, again, like, these characters are Konoha, and there's a lot of...
Yes.
There's just a lot that plays into this arc that makes it great. You have there's the fact that
you could argue that Naruto could have.
Well, yeah, there's like
Pain shows up. Or what are you saying?
Yeah, Pain shows up out of nowhere, and so it's like in the middle of them trying to resolve stuff. So you've still got those developments going on in the background. And just like a lot of the imagery, like, you know, people being completely unaware that this attack is even happening as it breaks out, and then the way it all builds up to the final blow, the final. What is it called? Almighty push, or whatever his technique is.
Yes.
It just levels the whole village. It's
again,
pretty good. Like there's just so many things that play into it that make it great, and that's why it's I don't know. Like, I was really interested in the stuff with Sasuke, but this whole setup is also really good. So, like, I don't know, just this whole stretch of chapters is amazing. If I had to pick one over the other, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because up to this point, like, I've been like, oh, Naruto. Like, because Naruto's a character, he's a type of character I tend to really like, but he's not being executed very, very well. And Sasuke's a type of character I don't, it's fine, but he's now my favorite because it's good. But, like, this is an arc that's mostly devoid of Sasuke. Like, once he beats Killer Bee, it's over. He's just, and that's just the kind of side thing while Naruto's training.
See, what had been happening...
But this is still my favorite arc.
What had been happening as I was, like, reading the Sasuke stuff, and then we jumped back to Naruto for the start of this arc, and I was like, I don't really care about Naruto, which I think makes it all the more impressive that this arc ends up being as strong as it is. And again, it doesn't really focus on Naruto for, like, the early third or half of it, which maybe that's why...
Yeah, but Naruto still... Well, because that's the thing, is, like, comparing this to what I've heard of the war, is that, like, a lot of the fights probably don't matter. Like, see, with this, like, the bit with Ebisu, the bit with Konohamaru, the bit with Kakashi and the Akamichis, like, even though, some of those aspects don't matter, they still, like, with Konohamaru and Ebisu, we learn about, that's Naruto's connection to how they're extensions of how the village feels about Naruto. With Kakashi, he dies to give Naruto information. So there's character things, and then, of course, there's also the investigation team. Like, we didn't mention that because it's just a plot thing. Like, they're investigating Pain's body, trying to figure out how it works, and that's information that comes into play later. So, these are things that matter to the overall picture in some ways, But with the war, it's like, Sai fights Haku, apparently. Does that matter? Like, maybe for Sai's character does something happen I don't know, I haven't seen the fight. So maybe there's something cool there that I don't know about. But, like, how much of it really matters, So that's the question we'll have to answer when we go through the war. So, but in this case, I do feel like a lot of these small things do matter. Like, yeah, you could argue that Naruto could come in at any point. But, and I do think that he should have come in a bit later just to give us more time to sort of... Because that's the thing, he's like... They're talking about this, and they're like, oh yeah, Konoha's... something weird's going on to Konoha. We better go check it out. Better gather all the forces. And then they just show up there, like, right after the explosion. So it's like... Again, we kind of talked about that earlier, where there's just no time for it to really sink in.
I guess one benefit of having a Tsunade versus Pain fight would be that you could then... Like, that would give you more time to, like, see the destruction, see everything that's happened. And, like, from the eyes of the Hokage as well. And, like, you see... Because she wouldn't win. Her powers, like... I mean, even just... Like, what ends up happening is that, like, she uses her... whatever jutsu, the regeneration thing. The
sealed chakra. Oh, well, she's using her slug to heal everyone, and she used her, like, chakra sealed up in her, like, forehead thing.
Yeah, she uses that to protect everyone. But, I mean, I mean, well, either way, like, you could have, let's say she doesn't do that, and, you know, you could always just write it that they're still fine anyways, or, you know, things happen. We don't actually see anything, so it's not like we get a physical display of her using that power. It just kind of happens.
And what we do see is, like, Naruto shows up, then Tsunade shows up, and then Tsunade's completely useless and Naruto saves her. Like, there's Tsunade, like, see what might have worked is, like, just an extra chapter showing some more of the destruction, letting it sink in, letting you see other characters, Tsunade, the Hokage, and then have her, like, get, like, something of a fight. You know, she's still a Sannin, so even without her big chakra thing, I could see her at least, like, tussling with a couple of pains, and then have Naruto come in. That that might be a little awkward, but it would save Tsunade some face. That's kind of what I'm trying to argue for. Save Lady Hokage some face.
Yeah, because what I think would have been cool was, like, if you could use that fight as a chance to show all the destruction, and, like, if you see it through the Hokage's eyes, like, and then as her as she slowly is being defeated by Pain, and she sees all the destruction of the village around her, and, like, she fails as a leader, I think that would be fascinating to see that from her perspective. That could be very powerful if, you know, it was shown properly, you know, but then, of course, you'd go back to the Next Generation thing with Naruto, and, you know, it would sort of solve some of the issues with the arc, or with this part of the arc, I mean, because it's like, I was just so stunned at how abrupt it was, because it's like, there's the panel of the village being destroyed, and then boom, Naruto's there, and I'm like, wait, already? Like, okay, and then, yeah, it's... Because up to that point, the arc had been paced really well, and, like, focusing not too much time on each individual conflict, but, like, focusing enough that, like, it continues to build that tension, and then you have stuff like, the Pain popping up while they're trying to find the intelligence, and then Shizune dies, which is, like, I
actually didn't notice.
Well, yeah, it's a fairly kind of just, like, swept away, because, like, that Pain shows up, and that's how they find out that Naruto's at Mount Miyaboku, and that's when Pain looks like he's gonna leave at first, and then he destroys the village, and then Naruto shows up, but... Yeah,
like, right then, so it's just like, okay, you know, like, it would have been, you know, he's supposed to leave, but, you know, I guess that's the thing, is he would have left if Naruto didn't show up right then, so Tsunade wouldn't have been able to find him anyway, but I did, because Naruto like showed up, and he's like, oh, okay, Naruto's here, after all, I better get him, you know?
I did kind of like how, though, like, you said you barely even noticed that Shizune died, but I thought it was interesting how, like, with Kakashi, his death is kind of a whimper, but with, Shizune is a character who's not super significant, but, like...
I think that's why I just overlooked it, because I see it now, like, with he pulled the ghost out of her, because he has that ability where he does that, and then, see, now I'm like, oh yeah, she's dead. But it's just, like, I think I was just, like, into the moment with everything else going on, I just sort of, like, missed that panel, and so... I
thought that moment was particularly effective, even though it was just kind of swept away, sort of, like, it wasn't again, like, putting the correct amount of emphasis on each thing, like, that didn't get focused on too heavily, but, like, you have everything's going on with that, like, intelligence group, like, they're trying to find out the secret with Pain, and she figures it out, but, like, before she actually gets to tell anybody, you know, not only is, like, Naruto's location stolen from her, so everything that the villagers were trying to fight to keep hidden is now, like, they failed in that regard, but then also she dies and takes whatever realizations she figured out about Pain with her, so, and again, it's all, like, it's a very, like, minor thing, like, it's not really focused on heavily, which, I mean, like, with, like, it's different than with Kakashi, where you think, like, oh, well, he's got other plot-relevant things.
Yeah, Kakashi's important, so I was paying more attention to him. With Shizune, I overlooked it because I'm an idiot, and, like, I like that you, at least, I'm so glad you were paying attention to it, because you've said some cool things. It's my fault that I didn't know Shizune died, not Kishimoto's.
Well, and especially considering that she's, like, the second hand to the Hokage, so I feel as though, again, like, that could have been a good thing for Tsunade, because she can sense that people are dead, like, she knows that Kakashi's dead, through, like, her...
or her the slugs, too, yeah.
Yeah, the slug. So, like, if you have that could have been another thing to expand on with Tsunade, like, Shizune died, that was her partner, or second in command, whatever, so, like, that'd be cool, again, like, another thing just to give Tsunade more of a chance to, like, do stuff, to
or hell, if you don't want to have her fight Pain, have her fight Conan.
Yeah, that too.
Obligatory woman versus woman fight, just throwing that out there.
I mean, I don't know, I didn't really feel like Conan had a strong presence in this arc.
Oh no, she's the non-character. She's the Forgotten Third as usual. Like, which is funny because the there's Yahiko who's dead, yet he is less of a Forgotten Third than Conan who's alive. So just throwing that out because not Yahiko's the third one, right? The other guy.
Yeah, Yahiko. Yeah, he was the body. Yeah, he was Pain.
Yes, Pain's main body. So right, in a way, he has more presence even though he's dead than Conan, who's just there.
See, at least with Conan, around. Like, she might be the Forgotten Third, but like out of the Forgotten Thirds, I felt as though she had a much stronger presence. That, like, you think of Jugo, like he's like the worst of the.
Oh yeah.
The Taka group.
I think there was a comment. Someone said something about Jugo, and I think someone else said, like, oh, how progressive of Kishimoto, making a man the Forgotten Third this time. And I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, go on. Or, I mean, I guess we'll talk about Conan later, because she's got her flashback and stuff. But before we get to Conan, so, Tsunade gets shat on by Naruto. I'm sorry, Tsunade, you didn't deserve this. But I gotta say, Naruto's Sage Mode design is probably my favorite design of Naruto. Like, he looks great. I like the eyes, and the red around the eyes. Well, it's black and white in the manga, but I know what it's supposed to look like. The fucking flaming robe, like, I like the look.
Yeah, the robe really completes it.
It probably helps that his entrance with Toad on Toad and the other two giant toads, and this is a cool fucking entrance, let's be honest. That probably helps the me like the look. But so I guess we should finally start discussing probably my favorite fight in the manga, Naruto versus Pain.
Wow. I mean.
Well, okay. Here's how it starts. A rhino charges Naruto. Naruto grabs the rhino
by the horn,
and he throws the rhino into space. I lost my shit. Like, again, it's like Naruto's a bit serious, and this is I probably shouldn't find this moment as amazing. Like, again, with the Killer Bee stuff, I like that goofiness. And this is just, like, this is how the fight starts, and I'm just like, yes! I'm just looking at the panel now, and he's just, boom, just gone, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so into this. Well, because it works on an emotional level to some degree. Like, I do think, like, the biggest problem with the arc is, again, the ending. But I don't think that quite hurts the fight a lot. Like, I mean, it's not a one-on-one fight. This is, like, it's more like Naruto and the frogs versus the six paths of pain, like,
yeah.
I mean, the frogs kind of get, like, they're just, like, fighting, and then they're just, they were beaten off screen, or maybe they were beaten on screen, and it just went by so fast I didn't notice. So that's a bit weak. But like, okay, so Naruto's showing off his new abilities, but what I liked is, like, how the elements of Sage Mode repeatedly came back throughout the fight. Like, it was stunning. Like, this is this probably surpasses Neji versus Kitamura for me on a technical standpoint. And again, it's Naruto avenging the Leaf Village and all the people who've died. So it's like, it works on both levels, and Naruto hasn't really had a fight like that for me. Like the Naruto versus Sasuke and Gaara versus Lee, those worked on an emotion level, but technically they were just like there. Yeah, whatever. But this fight, like I'm trying to think of some of my favorite moments. Like, one I like later is when there's the guy who can drain chakra, and Naruto makes him drain the Sage Mode chakra, and he turns into a frog. And I was like, what? That's fucking brilliant!
Yes. That was probably one of my favorite moments in the fight well.
Yeah, and then, later, and then, so it was sort of after the fight, but it was another bit I liked where he takes the chakra rod and he sticks it into himself to find where Pain was. So,
yes.
Like, he just learned how to sense nature chakra. Of course he'd be better at sensing chakra now. And that was just such a neat, elegant little solution that I was just like, oh, yeah. And, what else to the fight? Actually, the fight's shorter than I thought, skidding through it again. Like, I mean, the frogs get wrecked. I was like, okay, that was fine. But, like, looking back, I'm like, I didn't memorize it. But it's just like, and then, of course, you get the stuff with Hinata. I'm trying to, okay, how do I feel about this?
Before we get to that, what I did really like about that first stage of the fight was that Pain was still recovering from that massive attack that he did that leveled the village. And, like, with Naruto, you have him going, like, with the nature of Sage Mode, you kind of have to go all out from the beginning, which is kind of atypical to what a shonen battle will be, is that it's kind of like a big, you start off with the characters feeling each other out.
That was what happened with Sasuke versus Itachi.
Yes,
yes. They're like, they're just dicking around with fucking Shuriken for like a nice looking 2-page spread, but they're also just sticking around with Shuriken. Like, it amounts to nothing to the fight as a whole. Like, you pointed out some character stuff that's neat, but it doesn't really add to the fight. It's just, it's almost a waste of time. Like, and then of course by the end of it, they're like, oh, Susanoo and Kirin. Like, Kirin made sense why Sasuke couldn't do that at first, but what?
Although what I did, now that I think about it, what I did like about the ending of that fight, I know we're way past it, but like the bit after like Sasuke's out of chakra and he's just kind of like throwing weapons at Itachi in a panic. I thought that was pretty cool.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was cool. Because he's just, he doesn't have, like, Orochimaru's sealed up, he's out on his last legs, so yeah. And he can't do a jutsu or else he'd probably die from chakra exhaustion. Yeah, that works. But yeah, back to this fight. Okay, the Hinata bit. I guess it makes sense why Hinata would be the one to jump in, but I guess I think part of what weakens it for me is that, like, yeah, she gets blown the fuck out, that's normal, but then we don't even see her get impaled. Like, she's behind the rock. And I feel like what he was trying to do is, like, do more with what he was not showing, but in this case it didn't work at all. Like, no, because, the big emotional panel is this big, sound effect, and I'm just like, I don't know, it didn't do anything for me. Like, I should feel Naruto's pain here when Hinata gets wrecked, but I don't.
The big problem I have with this, the way this develops, is that, like, Hinata doesn't die from that. And like,
even though it's pointless because if she did, she would just get brought back.
No, it's not even that. It's not even because of what happens at the end of the arc. Pain just straight up does not kill her. Because, like, that's fair. Sakura and them, like, they realize she's still alive, and Sakura heals her. So it's like, but this is like, Pain is supposed, like, he's trying to, like, bring out the rage in Naruto by, like, having him, like, feel his pain by killing this person who just, like, confessed her love to him and, like, tried to defend him with her life, and she dies, but he doesn't kill her. Like, what, did he miss? Did he, what does he have mercy? Like, what, it's not in line with his character. Why does this happen? Why does he not kill her? Because, like, Kishimoto gives himself an out. They all get revived later, so she could have died, and it would have worked.
He knew he was going to do it. He wouldn't have killed off Kakashi if he knew he wasn't going to bring him back later. But then
he kill her?
Why keep Akamichi, Choji's dad alive? Why keep Hinata alive? Why not kill any, like, I mean, because that's the thing, because it just gets undercut later, so he has to, like, keep the emotions now. But
my specific problem with the Hinata stuff is that, like, he could have killed her, but, like, he just doesn't, like, it doesn't make any sense why Pain wouldn't kill her with this attack.
Like, I think the real fix to this problem is that Kishimoto should have not killed off Kakashi and also not brought everyone back to life and just we'll talk about that later because it's so bad, but, like, it's weird that this is, like, one of my favorite fights in one of my favorite arcs, but it ends on a pretty sour note. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but still pretty sour. But, so yeah, I guess, like, I liked your freak out, though. That was fun.
Because it just doesn't make sense to me. Because, like, that's a Pain thing. Like, he didn't kill her. It's not like he killed her and she was brought back. Pain just decided not to kill her, even though that was, like, it seemed to be the intention of the moment. I don't get it.
Well, because, I mean, in the one chapter where he does it, it's impossible to tell. It's not until after, because the next chapter you see, there's, like, Hinata's lying there and she's like, Naruto, and it's so she's still alive, and then later Sakura, they grab her and heal her. But in the moment, like, even though, like, at this time Hinata could very well be dead, but, you know, for me that didn't even land, so it's just so
I think that's fair, because, like, she didn't do a whole lot in the story.
Yeah, that's also an aspect of it. Like, she's just been this sort of, like, distant admirer to Naruto, and that's, like, kind of the thing, is, like, he didn't notice. And then, suddenly, like, that's the thing, he told the whole village, don't interfere, and then this one character who's obviously too weak to do something interferes, and Naruto, like, he doesn't fully understand, or at least, well, he does after she confesses, to a degree, but, you know, this is outside of his prediction, even though Naruto's not the most, like forward
from
thinker,
a character, like a character motivational standpoint, like with Hinata, like her arc, if you could call it an arc, was that, like, she can't stand up for herself, she doesn't really do much, she always just kind of hides.
Yes, I forgot about that aspect to it.
But she does, and
I wanted to say something.
Like, not only does she stand up and, like, confront Pain in what is ultimately a futile endeavor, like, she knows she's not going to come out of this unscathed, but she also confesses her love to Naruto, which is, like, this is, like, you know, her big shining moment, and it at least, like, as far as her character is concerned, it does achieve, like, that level of it. Like, there is a strong character moment for her, like, It's just that there's other things surrounding it that don't.
I mean, it's also another instance of Naruto inspiring Hinata and her suffering for it.
Yeah.
So, because, I mean, I was talking earlier about how, like, I feel like Naruto's a leader, or he wants to be a leader, so maybe that would be an aspect of his character that would be neat to explore, and here it is being the same thing happening, like, exactly the same thing happening, but, again, it's not an aspect of Naruto's character Kishimoto wants to explore, is the idea of him as a inspirational leader, and the suffering that might come from that, so,
although
I'm not gonna... go on?
Although I did think it was, like... I think maybe this would have been more impactful, like, if they had done what we had suggested back in our part 2 of the Chunin exams with, like, the whole Neji fight and Hinata stuff. But I did think it was interesting how her death was the trigger that, like, causes him to go berserk and channel the Ninetales rage. Because, like, like you said, he inspired her and she suffers for it. And so, like...
Twice now! Like, there's a pattern.
Like, that's, like, the switch that sets Naruto off.
Right, so it's obviously not a good thing that he's doing this, but it's not really addressed, so that's kind of a shame.
Yeah, that's...
though, of course, Naruto's freak out. Like, I like the form, the six-tailed form, where he's got, like, the skeleton on him. You know, like, I wasn't a huge fan of the four-tails design, and this doesn't quite salvage it. I just think it's kind of metal, that he's wearing a skeleton, like motherfucking Cuban or something. Except... But, and Sakura's like, okay, I know they're fighting in a big crater, we better evacuate. Like, even though there's, like, a fair distance away. And, of course, Naruto does, like, it turns out he carves a path of destruction through what's left of Konoha, and they're like, oh, luckily there were no casualties, so, I mean, I guess, why even bring it up? I wasn't thinking about it, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I hadn't thought of it either.
Yeah, they're kind of, like, reminding us that Naruto could hurt people in this form that he's not supposed to use, you know, like, that was the whole thing with,
It's especially interesting that they... Because now that I think about it, it's kind of weird that, like, this is, like, Naruto's, like, worst moment. Like, he channels this massive power, and it's like, he could have destroyed the village by doing this, but this is also the arc where, like, his character arc essentially completes. Like, he's redeemed. Like, the village sees him as the hero.
We'll talk about that later, yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that he has this big transformation, and it's like, oh, he could have potentially, like, ruined everything, but he's the hero.
Yeah. Like, that's kind of the thing I wanted to talk about later, but I felt like it was worth mentioning now because this is when it happens.
My bad.
You know, he's not... Anyway.
I killed your thunder.
You know, it's fine. So, so I guess one thing hold on, I'm trying to remember. Why did Pain run again? I guess he needed more planet to do his, planet construction. And it was kind of hard to find in a crater, maybe? That was it? Because I'm just... Like, I don't see why he'd be concerned with Konoha's safety. So that's not why he ran. But I was just... I thought about that question while I was skimming through.
Although it is interesting to see this fight when it's not, like... the infamous thing with the anime is the way that the fight is animated.
Oh, yes! I remember hearing about that and seeing, like, a bunch of screen caps and GIFs, and it looked...
Yeah, because, like, the thing with that, it just kind of feels... Like, the animation style of that particular fight just kind of feels out of place. It feels kind of goofy, kind of
I'm trying to choose my favorite moment, because there's the one where the Ninetale, or the Naruto, like, bonks Pain on the head with a pillar, and digs him in the ground,
moment.
and Pain's just like, do you hate me? And with his head sticking out the ground like a Looney Tune. Like, that's the thing, the fight is straight Looney Tunes. Like, and then there's the one part where Pain does a punch and his face is just for, like, you take any screen cap out of that, it's just the most ridiculous looking face. Like, cause a lot of people say, oh, this animation sure is bad, and they post one screen cap of it matters how the scene looks, and there's, like, one part where Sasuke does a fireball in, like, the Chunin exams, and his head is, like, there's, like, one part where his head is, like, completely, like, on the side, and people take that, and it's like, this is bad animation. Yeah, it looks goofy out of context, but as a whole, the whole bit of him shooting the fireball looks fine. Yeah. But with this Pain thing, it's like, every single screen cap looks terrible, in a funny way. So it's like, and the scene as a whole doesn't look good. You know?
Yeah, the problem with my original, like, when I made my Naruto is terrible video, which is itself a terrible video. The problem that I mentioned it there was that I was just, like, I used it as an example of bad animation, which isn't the case. It's just, like, the tone the animation conveys is, like... It's
against the tone it should be conveying.
Yeah, right? Like, the animation style, I think, would be fine in, like, its own show. But I guess like because like we said, it makes the fight just look goofy. It looks like a Looney Tune
when it's
cartoon.
And again, it follows the Hinata shit, which is supposed to be a huge deal. And Naruto, like, again, as it comes up later, Naruto accidentally blew through a bunch of Konoha and possibly might have killed people, but didn't. So it's like, and then you get this goofy Looney Tune shit, and it's like, this is like this big climactic moment, and I can see why it was so infamous, even though I never watched this series. So
I mean, to be fair, like the weight behind that animation does kind of convey the fight, but it's just not in a way that feels like consistent with the emotions of the arc. Especially considering this is supposed to be
I showed my brother scenes of that fight, like, haha, look how bad the animation Naruto is, and he's like, this isn't Naruto, and I'm like, yes it is, this episode just aired, and he's like, no, he like didn't believe it was from Naruto. Like, we were younger, but still, I just thought it was just a baffling memory.
And this is like the darkest moment in the arc, arguably, or like the darkest for Naruto's character, because like he turns into like 8 tails. Like
like there's a scene after that where he's like, I'm getting into it now in my skimming, and the 9 tails is convincing him like, unleash it all. Unleash all your anger and hate and pain. And, I will rescue you from your pain. And, like, this is... But then, like, right before this was just the Looney Tunes. So, yeah, it's... Oh, man.
So, at least in the manga, like, the tone can stay consistent. I can stay invested in the fight.
Yeah, that's the difference with, like, because with anime you have so many people working on it that the style has to change, without a really stringent, like, director overseeing it, animation director, art director, whichever. I'm not 100% sure about the prediction. But with the manga, there are assistants and stuff, but overall the same style is consistent because you have the author of the manga working on every single chapter. So, that's, one advantage between, there's, in anime, if everyone's great, then you can have their own personal styles and gives each individual cut some personality that one person couldn't do alone. But the downside of that is, again, the inconsistency. So, especially with long-running shonen, which they're so long that they have so many people working on them for so many stretches of time. So, that there's so many, there's just too much individual personality sometimes. Alright, so anyway, we get this moment with, there's a little bit of a reveal here. Like, I was surprised by it when I was young. Like, maybe not, or in high school reading these chapters, or at least, I remember telling a friend, like, oh yeah, the 4th Hokage is Naruto's dad, and he was like, well, yeah, who else? Like, he hadn't even touched Naruto for ages, and he's like, well, who else sealed Naruto? Or, like, what, they picked a random kid to seal the Nine-Tailed Fox? And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I felt like an idiot for not being able to tell. So,
see, I thought up to this point in the story that had been like addressed by someone. Like, I thought someone had said,
no,
like not even Jiraiya.
Oh wait, no, wait, maybe they did. Oh yeah, they did. Oh my god, they did with the fucking Jiraiya.
Yeah,
flashback. Because oh my god, I'm an extra idiot. Oh my god, I was just remembering back to that and like, yep, that's how it went. But then, there was the scene where we saw his mom and we saw Minato and they were reading Jiraiya's book. And how did I miss that as a fucking high school? Like, I remember that moment so vividly of me seeing it as a twist, this moment, and now I'm remembering that and I'm like, yep, this was a twist. And then I wait, hold on, I'm an idiot. Holy shit.
Oh no.
Past me, you're confusing present me, you motherfucker. I'll fucking kill you. Making me look like an idiot on my own podcast. Anyway, so how did you feel about this? The Minato and Naruto finally meet.
It was, I thought it was interesting, like the conflicting emotions, like Naruto punches him in the gut, and he's like, why would you seal the 9 tails in your own kid, you idiot, you dumbass? That's not actually what he said, but, it's a reasonable complaint to have. Yep,
and then, they talk. I like how, like, Naruto rages and he's crying, and Naruto, like, he just lets it all out and then he's fine, he has a bit of an outburst, but he's like, I love the panel of him, like, he's got the tear marks and he's like, but he's like, it's alright, I'm the 4th Hokage's kid. I'll deal.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's cute. Naruto's great. Naruto has his moments. And of course Minato states that there was a mastermind behind. He reveals the truth that Obito or Tobi did attack the village with the 9 tails. So we get confirmation on the misdirection that Sasuke was between Sasuke and Itachi, or Itachi and Madra's accounts of the whole thing. So because that did come up, but and he lied. Well, I think the contention was more about the attacking the Uchiha and the reasons for it, but or maybe I forget if I think the nine-tailed. Yeah, I think Itachi did say like, oh yeah, he attacked the village with the nine-tailed fox. Madra's not a nice guy. Better not listen to Madra. And yeah, but Madra's like, nuh-uh. So, but yeah, so now Naruto has that information. I don't know if anything, maybe, I don't know, the war still hasn't happened, so, but yeah, it's like, okay, so, I'll mention this later, but, Minato, he says he believes in Naruto, that Naruto will be able to find the answer to the question that no one has the answer to, and then he rebuilds the seal. Yeah, it's fine. There's the part about this I want to talk about. Like, I do like Naruto dealing with sort of his emotions and the shit he's been going through for 16 years because of him,
Yeah.
That was nice. But then the actual, like, after that, I believe in you, Naruto, like, well, I'll talk about that later. Did you have anything else to say? Or, because it's a short scene, but,
I mean, yeah, I did like it. It's got the cool, like, mixed emotions that you would expect from, like, hey, the guy who sealed your father sealed this big demon in you, so, like, of course there'd be some negativity there. But it's also, like, he doesn't dwell on it. He's not like, he's not like a super angry boy.
Yeah. Anyway, after that, I like the panel of, like, Naruto standing on the planet, like, upside down, looking up/down at Pain. Like, that's a cool panel.
How gravity, though? How do?
Yes. So yeah, it comes back in Sage Mode. I like the detail where his other Sage Mode clones are gone because of he went Nine-Tailed Fox, so he lost the focus. So he couldn't, that was a nice little detail. And then,
see, I did think
like,
it was interesting how, it was established that, like, he had the two Sage Mode clones, but yet he only ever gets to use the one. Like,
yeah.
It's interesting that was set up and not delivered on, which I like. I like that it did that.
Yeah, and I like it was a very Naruto method of, because as the Toad was talking about, like with Jiraiya, they were on the shoulders so they could stay still while Jiraiya moves. But with Naruto, he can't do that because I forgot about the training. Because with the frog, he tried to do that with Naruto, and the nine-tailed fox is like, fuck off, and he's like, I can't do it. No, that's not happening. But Naruto comes up with his own solution, and I like how
that reminds me. It's a neat we didn't talk about the death of the frog. How did you feel about that?
He died, but then he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I kind of mentioned it earlier because I was like scanning through and I was like, oh yeah, the frog died. I forgot because it doesn't stick. It doesn't matter. Like I should hate this art because the ending is just so. But
it does have a lot
at the same time.
I mean, there's just so many good things building up to it that, like, the ending just cannot possibly ruin everything, even if it ruins some things.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, so, but Naruto kind of, like, sorts through because he has the slug on his, Tsunade gave him, or I forget when the slug ended up with him, but, they're talking and explaining what's going on, and he's able to get he knows about Hinata, and, because, do you comprehend pain, so... But Naruto, of course, wants to talk to Nagato, and there's a bit where he pulls out the chakra stick and finds Pain. I like that.
See, like I think the only problem with that is just that you had kind of like a relatively minor side plot going on with like Shikamaru and his that small group. Like they're like, okay, well we know that Pain is in a secret location and we gotta find him, but then Naruto just finds it.
Naruto just finds it, yeah. I mean, I guess if they all have slugs, they could maybe pass information.
It's not that, like, it doesn't make sense that Naruto would be able to find it, but it's just, like, this all was set up.
Yeah. Well, nowhere. And, I mean, the other thing with it is that Naruto needs to be there alone, and he even meets some people and says, I'm going in alone, but he does, because if someone else found it first, then they would have, like... I mean, maybe something could have happened like that with Pain killing someone else, and, because that would be interesting for the actual confrontation. So anyway, the rest of the fight. Or did you have anything else to say on that, or?
Yeah, that was about it.
Okay. So yeah, Naruto does, Shadow Shuriken, and, mostly, this is just the one Pain, pretty much, all the other ones are done. And so it's about getting through his, 5-second, this is what Kakashi died for, pretty much, so that Naruto could do this. He already knows about the limitation at this point, but yeah, I like how it's finished. After all that Sage Mode training, how he finishes it is with just a fairly mundane Rasengan,
Yes.
With the clones. So, I mean, maybe, when did Naruto make all these clones and have them transform? I don't know when he had the chance to do that.
Yeah, because it was a little crazy that it's the rubble is all clones.
Yeah, that was a little crazy. And I'm not sure if that was unnecessary for there to be that many clones. I guess it needed to be something big for Pain to repel them. So, but overall, I do like the end of the fight. not quite as much as some of the stuff that came before. Like, the Rhino moment was too fucking great. The fucking Rhino getting thrown to space. No, but yeah, this was, Pain gets defeated with a Rasengan. Like, but yeah, it's like almost a back to basics with, like, he just beats him with a normal, like, not Rasengan Shuriken, not even a big Rasengan like he was using in the first arc of the part 2. Just a regular normal sized Rasengan to finish off Pain. So,
but I
going
like
back to
that.
his roots.
Yeah. Especially because, like, that's the technique that Jiraiya taught him. So, like, that's how he puts down Pain.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that aspect to it. That's good.
It's super cool. And it also kind of, like, the weight of the battle was severe enough that, like, he wasn't able to win with his ultimate technique, but he was able to, like, he had to go smaller.
Yeah, well, because you were talking about how he went... Yeah, well, because you were talking about how he had to start big with Sage Mode, and so it makes sense that he ends small. And it works in a thematic way, too, with the Rasengan and Jiraiya. So, yeah, so that's... So yeah, I will still say that's probably one of my favorite fights in the series. Possibly my favorite. Like, I'm trying to think, like, Lee versus Garou was cool. Naruto versus Sasuke was cool. Neji versus Konoha was cool. Killer Bee versus Taka. This is probably my favorite.
I mean, I can definitely see why there is... I mean, it does have a lot of cool elements to it, like all the frogs and Naruto systematically destroying the 6 paths of pain.
Yeah, and there was, like again, that moment with where he feeds the nature chakra into the pain, and I was just like, that's so good! Like, it makes perfect sense. He was, held still so he could gather his Sage Mode chakra, and that also makes sense, like, well, because he got impaled by the chakra rod, so that's why he couldn't gather Sage Mode chakra then. So, like, all the elements from the Sage Mode... Like, the fact that it turns you into frogs, the fact that it's good at sensing chakra, the fact that you need to stay still, like, everything mattered for this fight. Like, this is how... See, it did the element thing better than the element thing, where it's like, you introduce a concept and expand on that concept. Like, compare that to Kakuzu, where he's got all 5 elements, and Naruto blows all of them away with wind. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
So, but in this case, like, nature chakra, what is Sage Mode, it all works. And I thought it was cool. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So I guess we can finally...
I don't know if I would call it my favorite fight, because I'm just trying to think. But it is really good. I can definitely see why it'd be your favorite.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, we finally get to Naruto meeting Pain. And, Pain, so let's see, there's the... Naruto, he's filled with hate, anger, and, he does want to defeat Nagato. He wants to, but... he also does, he knows that, understands that, if there's a cycle of vengeance, then acting on hate, and it would just keep the cycle of vengeance going. So, and then we get, or was there anything on this previous bit, or should we just go to start to the flashback? Because Nagato's telling Naruto of his pain, the pain that he wants, because he kind of, corrupted what Jiraiya told him. Jiraiya said, well, people experience pain so that they learn empathy, and Nagato's like, okay, I better make the whole world experience pain. And Jiraiya's like, no, stop.
Yeah.
So, didn't work out. But, cause what I like about the flashback, how it starts, is that it's just he doesn't remember, the shinobi who ransacked his house and killed his parents, they're just like, oh, sorry, we didn't, why are there civilians in a war zone? It was an accident. There's a grayness to it. It's they could have easily just oh, these guys are monsters. They're soldiers. They're, soldiers. War is stressful. They do fucked up shit that they normally wouldn't do. It's not good. So but he didn't go that route. He humanized them, even though they're, it's interesting because it's they're shown in complete shadow. This guy's going to stab his dad has an angry, or his mom has an angry face, but it's they're still just they're people.
Yeah, they're just people. Yeah.
And then they just fucking die because Nagato goes, Rinnegan, and it's pretty cool.
See, one thing that I liked especially about this arc and the flashbacks we saw here and in the Jiraiya stuff was I'm really fascinated by Kishimoto's portrayal of war, because I think it's it's a very honest depiction. I feel it's not overly negative or I don't know, it's able to kind of convey
everyone is a victim.
Yeah, everyone's a victim, and And then, like, through Pain's ideology as well, and just, like, this idea of, like, what is true peace. It's interesting
like,
how...
It's a tragic backstory, but it's not one that makes us go, like, oh, we should feel bad for Pain because he was this cute kid, like Gaara's
like,
was.
yeah.
So this is like, oh, this is why he's like the way he is.
And it's not just
sense,
him
you know,
who this would affect. Like, this is just the effects of war. This could be anybody. I mean, obviously, there are
right,
more
it doesn't
more
justify
details.
what he's done, but it makes you understand why he did it. Like,
Yes.
this is how a good tragic flashback would go, basically.
Yes.
So did you have a,
what was
So
it?
yeah, but sorry, I interrupted. But you like how he depicts war, and well, I think because he's mentioned in an interview that he one of the ideas he wanted to express was the idea of a generation who has experienced war and a generation who hasn't, because he grew up like his parents remembered like. Or grandparents probably like knew war, World War II and stuff. So there's this disconnect, and he wanted to get that across.
Yeah,
so,
and you definitely do see that, and that's I think another one of the really strong elements of this arc. And I'm sure, like the Great Ninja War, I'm sure will be a more what's the word I'm looking for? A more obvious, a more
a blatant. What might be another word?
Like a more blatant portrayal of that, but. Like, the way it's incorporated into this arc, more so, I guess, is just a backstory, I mean, it's still cool. And I like the, like, the conclusions that are drawn here. Because, like, Naruto, he shows up to Pain and, like, I guess, like, the typical, the typical perspective outsiders have of Shounen is that, like, oh, it's kind of, like, childish. So, like, happy endings and whatnot. But there's a good, like, we've seen it with Sasuke already, but Naruto has a good, like, I guess... a morally nuanced decision here, because he's like, I hate you, Pain, and I'm never going to stop hating you, but also I know that I need to like get beyond that.
Like ideologically, yeah, he can't kill Pain if he wants to believe in peace, because if he
but he also
Pain,
isn't just like, well,
Pain's
I forgive
ideals
you,
are
Pain,
peace through
because you do good. Sorry. You heal things, and like you're troubled, so I forgive you because you also suffered. Like there's none of that here.
Yeah. Moving on to the rest of the flash. Oh, there's more. We'll talk more about it, I'm sure, but there's more flashback with Pain meets Konan and Yahiko, and they're trying to survive through the war. They see Jiraiya, and the fucking. I don't know if I mentioned this last time we saw this bit of the flashback, but Orochimaru's like, man, there's so many war orphans. I should probably kill. Do you want me to kill him? And Jiraiya's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like this is their friend. He's just like, maybe I should kill some orphans. Like, is it really a surprise that he betrayed the village and turned into an absolute monster? He kind of already is. I just think it's just so Orochimaru.
I mean, like, at least in this scenario, it kind of is. It seems reasonable the way he portrays it. Cause it's like, yeah, well, there are plenty of kids like this, and they'll just suffer greater. So but it's just like,
of course, it's Orochimaru who says.
Yeah, of course.
So, I understand why he's like it. It's just kind of amusing because it's just Orochimaru, man. But so yeah, they kill a shinobi, and Jiraiya's like, hey, I should train you guys. Like they abridged that part of the flashback, because we've already seen it. So, well, they abridged the less than important stuff, and they reiterate the actually important stuff, like Jiraiya saying his giving Nagato advice. And, Jiraiya's like, oh, you could have been the great. Which kind of like, I think that's what kind of Kakashi was trying to avoid with Naruto. Because Jiraiya's like, man, the Sage of Six Paths had the Rinnegan. Maybe you could be awesome like the Rinnegan guy. And, so he kind of like, I don't want to say inflated him because Nagato was taking a back seat to Yahiko. Yahiko was their leader. So
you could say that like Nagato sort of developed his god complex because of Jiraiya's praise in a way. That's interesting. I hadn't even considered that.
I don't think it's quite how it turned out because Nagato didn't really become that god until like after, but there's definitely a level of praise that Nagato's getting that Naruto didn't get. So, like Naruto wasn't compared like, oh, I mean, not yet, because apparently Naruto's a reincarnation of some important boy.
They have compared him to like the fourth Hokage though, but not as like. Yes. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is just sort of the same then, because they said like, you remind me of the
Well, he didn't find out about it until
like
like just now, pretty much. Like that was when that's when Naruto found out about it, right? When he because I don't think he knew about his dad being the fourth Hokage.
Well, no, he didn't know that it was his dad, but like there was a lot of parallels drawn to the fourth Hokage for a while now. So.
Well, I'm trying to remember how many of them did Naruto hear. Like Tsunade internally was like, "Oh yeah, he reminds me of the first Hokage and my brother and my."
I feel like Jiraiya told him directly at some point.
Okay, I thought so. I wasn't 100% sure though. So
it's just Jiraiya. He just loves to inflate his students' egos, and then he causes destruction to the world. Way to go, Jiraiya. It's all part of the prophecy.
But, so, anyway, but yeah, they were... See, and it's Danzo comes up again, where, because he was like, well, we were gonna ally with Hanzo and fix the rain.
You know what we forgot to talk about? The way that that Danzo just killed the messenger frog?
I mentioned it, well, because it's just like Danzo's just sort of like the obligatory evil Konoha guy, and that's like all of his characterization. Like every single aspect of his characterization is fuck Konoha, or I'm secretly undermining Konoha, or I'm just being bad. I'm pretty sure, was he the one who gave the order to kill the Uchiha clan?
Yes, that was him.
Yeah, so he's like the most important character in the series.
And then of course
pretty
he
much
shows up with that he allies with Hanzo because he wants to be Hokage.
Danzo bad, Hanzo bad. You know, that's like, like you were just saying, oh, whoa, nuance, and I'm like, not all the time.
Not all the time.
Like maybe we'll learn more about Danzo later. Like I think that but I'm not sure how justifiable. Like he's just. Might be a little much.
Danzo is not a nuanced guy.
Okay. I've heard alternate opinions, but the more I see of Danzo, the more I'm down. Well, we'll find out next time. Next time is...
Okay, maybe he is a little more nuanced. We haven't gotten there yet, but he's portrayed very, very villainously.
At this point, there's zero nuance to his character. He wants to rule the leaf, and if the leaf has to burn so he can be the Phoenix King rising from the ashes, then sure. That's like his, and then also fuck the rain because whatever.
Because Danzo.
Or fuck these guys in particular, by allying with Hanzo. But yeah, so, well, I guess, see, you do get an interesting parallel here though, because Hanzo's like, he's forcing Nagato to make a choice, so it's kind of Itachi-like in a sense, and it's kind of interesting that Danzo's behind it too, because he's forced to, okay, Conan, kill Yahiko or Conan dies, sort of like, okay, Itachi's, kill the clan or everything goes to war. Kind of. So it's like this harsh choice that he shouldn't have had to make, but the situation forced it upon him. And I guess in this case, like with Itachi, because it's such a bigger situation, you know, there was more choice to be had, but it just kind of got boiled down to a do or don't kind of thing. But in this case, I don't know, I didn't feel much when he killed Yahiko, so I'm not sure how it worked, but I did notice a little parallel there.
Hold on 1 second.
Though it might have been accidental. I don't know, how did you feel about Yahiko getting killed? Like, did you... Because it's just like, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of odd that, like, he just sort of killed himself, like he ran into the knife. But, I mean, it's fine.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. So it's more like the choice was made for Nagato.
Yeah.
So, okay. So it's, I guess it was an accident. It wasn't really there. Okay. The parallel that I was just... Okay.
Well, so I guess it's a way to twist that parallel, because, like, unlike Itachi, who made the choice, Nagato just kind of had it forced upon him.
Yeah, yes.
Forced upon him.
Well, like sort of how he had so much of his life forced upon him. So that is his pain, so to speak. And then he just completely blows the fuck out. Like that's the thing is Hanzo is such a big deal, and Nagato just like just destroys his army, and like Hanzo's like nope. Because I don't know if Hanzo would have died, but because he's supposed to, like, that's the thing, Hanzo's like supposed to be this incredibly strong character, but we don't see any of it. Like, we never see him fight at all. And it's like, he gave the Sannin his name, and they faced off against him and live, and he's just like, we don't see him fight Nagato at all.
We don't see really anything from him.
Not that we necessarily should have, because this is kind of like, this is already this is like the end of a pretty long arc. Like, this might be the single, like, it's like 50 chapters. Like, no, Chunin exams might have been longer. But it's still a pretty long arc. So it makes sense for it. And Heavy was probably longer too, actually, now that I think about it. Even though the Wikia divides it into 3 arcs. But, so yeah, you got this big, it makes sense why there's no big fight here. But yeah, it does sort of leave Hanzo's skill as being more of a tell, don't show. So, oh well. Okay, so now we finally get the resolution to Naruto and Pain having their ideologies clash against each other. So, and this is where everything gets completely undercut. So, like, okay, because here's what happens. Naruto's, like, I like this moment where he pulls out the book, and you see, like, a new version of the book, but with Nagato as the hero instead of Naruto.
Yeah, that was
which I thought was
cool.
A really cool, like, art, like, oh, yeah. But, and of course, before that, you get, like, the flashback where the line that the hero was saying was based off of Nagato, which, of course, again, he just happens to remember at this one point. And, this time, you can't even chalk it up to trauma. This was just a fucking conversation I had with Jiraiya. Like, and it's also, like, super important. He just happens to remember it at this moment. And, and it again alters his worldview. Like, I guess I just don't like this trope of just that character happening to remember something that alters their worldview. Like, in Sasuke's case, it was, like, a bit more forgivable because it was just sort of, like, more evidence to something he was already feeling. And it's, like, I just don't feel it was necessary to push him over the edge. This, like, okay, I like the bit where, like, Jiraiya's like, I gotta think of a name for my main character, and he looks down to his ramen bowl, and there's a Naruto, fish cake just sitting there. Which is fun. Just look, cause it's so Jiraiya to just, like, make this important decision for his book, just, like, he looks at his fucking ramen bowl. And he just happens to name the main character of the series.
Yep.
And like Minato's like, oh yeah, I like that book. I'm gonna name my son after, like, he named his son after a character in Jiraiya's book who was named after food. And like, it's just like, I just love how he just looks at the ramen bowl. It's just like him looking at the bowl, and that's just the whole panel. It just ends there.
Yeah.
Well, like, I mean, luckily we know what a Naruto is, because I can see this being lost on a non-Japanese audience.
Uh-huh.
But, it's still good. So, but anyway, like, cause see, the real issue with this whole thing is that, like, Pain has spent so long on these beliefs, and, you know, like, we didn't see a lot of the Rain Village, but, you know, he controls it, you know, he has complete power over it, so, I don't, like, would that extend to the rest of the world if he won? Like, maybe? Like, is it necessarily good? Like, one of the things that sort of hurts, like, him bit, because he was talking to Naruto about the cycle of vengeance, and he says, like, well, the leaf hurt me, so I hurt the leaf, and if you hurt me, you're just repeating the cycle. But, like, the issue with it is, like he says, like, what Naruto wants to do is no different than what he's doing, but I don't fully agree with that, because, like, with him destroying Konoha, he's destroying, like, he killed a lot of people, a lot of individuals, but it's all sort of filed under this, he destroyed a town. A city is just an idea. It's a collection of buildings. And, like, he's amounting, like, that's like a collective idea. But then with Naruto and Pain, like, Pain killed an individual also, Jiraiya. Like, there's weird equations going on here that, like, false equations, I would say, equate to be equated. Not equations, it's like that. But it's like, so I'm not quite sure I, like, fully accept it. Like, he's equating things that shouldn't be equated, I guess. Like, yeah, it makes sense. Naruto disliking Pain is completely, like with Pain destroying Konoha. Konoha did nothing to him. Like, there's, like, 3 guys, Danzo is the one who needs to die. Like, the war that fucked up, Omagakure, like, Jiraiya was a soldier in that war. He's old now. Like, everyone who Pain's angry at is old or dead. Like, and what did attacking the Konoha now prove, you know? Like, he's basically fighting this war that's just older than it should be, you know? And it's like, so there's a bit of a disconnect with me there. So, I don't, do you have anything to say about that, or?
Well, like, I mean,
like, did you agree with that? Like, there's more to discuss, but that was, this is just leading into it really.
Well, yeah, because I guess, like, you could argue that, yeah, his vendetta against the Leaf is a little misguided, but, like, I guess yeah, because, like you said, there is more to discuss with it. Like, his idea was, like, you know, use pain to create, like, temporary peace. I mean, it's a kind of a weird philosophy that, like, I mean, according to Nagato, like, there is no true peace. So, like, you can only gain temporary.
The thing is I don't agree with Pain's ideology. I understand why he has it. I don't agree with it. But Naruto doesn't have a response. Like, it's just belief. Like, Jiraiya and the Fourth believe in him. Jiraiya believed in Nagato. And so Naruto's gonna believe in Jiraiya's beliefs even though they don't make sense. And Nagato's just like, okay. Like, he just completely rolls over. Like, and there's just no resolve. Like, he has so many, like, all these chakra rods in his back, yet he has no backbone. Like, I get why he does it, cause he Jiraiya, they connect through Jiraiya. But there's nothing substantial there. It's just faith, just blind faith, and like, oh, maybe it'll be better if we do, like, I feel like all that would have to change is he just like, you know what, Naruto, I agree with you, and then he attacks anyway. Like, he has some resolve. He follows his beliefs till the end. You know, like, but then the other issue with that is that Naruto, like, cause remember back after the Tenchi Bridge arc, he was crying about Sasuke, and I'm just like, like, and up to this point, like, his biggest victory was Kakuzu, which was undercut immediately after that with, you can't use the Rasen Shoken anymore because you'll lose, you'll die, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so he hasn't had a significant victory since Gaara, really. And so he needs a victory. Like, he needed this victory, but I think it went a bit too far. Like, winning the fight was great, but, like, somehow winning the ideological battle against Pain through hollow nothings is just, it's so unsatisfying. Like, it's just, so...
I mean, I guess, like, the thing with Pain was that, like, he sees, like, a younger version of himself in Naruto, a more, like, that more, like,
idealistic, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I guess it is kind of odd that, like, after all this time that he would put into these ideals that he would just, kind of just succumb to that, like, that more ideological, that more, I guess, pure mindset that he would have had as a younger kid. And I know he does say, like, that he does say that, like, he lost faith in Jiraiya, in himself. Like, I guess he had kind of given up on that, more ideological outcome. Like, I guess he thought that it just wasn't possible, that it just wasn't something that he could attain, and so he develops his new ideology, the one that he, attack the Leaf Village and, rule the world through
cause pain too.
But, like, what he sees in Naruto, and it kind of flashes back to what Jiraiya says to him during their fight, because, like, Naruto understands that pain, which was kind of shown throughout the fight, and he doesn't come to agree with Pain. Like, he can't forgive him, but yet he moves past it. Like, and that's what Jiraiya says to him. He says, "I wish you had moved past the pain and harness your power in a more positive way."
Yes.
But, like,
because Pain, like, he tells the story of his parents, and he's like, "I still feel that pain." He never moved on.
Yes,
go on.
But like, because he can't, but Naruto could. Like, Naruto was able to, I guess, like, he doesn't forgive Pain, but he is willing to move on. Like, he knows that he has to. So I guess,
now
like,
that
maybe
you put it like that, I think I understand my problem, because Pain does move past his pain. He just drops it. He drops it all. He drops all his pain and says, "You know what, Naruto, I believe in you." He moves past his pain in an instant. Do you think that's what's happening there? Or am I off?
No.
Or...
I definitely see that.
Yeah. So, because and because I like that idea of, you know what, Naruto, you're able to move past your pain while I can't. Like, and then he like, imagine if he shot another chakra rod at Naruto, and Naruto, like, I don't like the idea of Naruto being forced to kill him, but I like the idea of, like, Pain not, like, he continues to fight. Like, he cannot move past that pain. It's become, like, he's literally covered in chakra rods. Like, you can't separate this guy from Pain, but then at the end he just does, because Naruto said, "Believe in me," and it doesn't work. I don't think it works.
Yeah, because my problem with I do agree that I think the ending of this arc, it's too saccharine. It's too much of a happy ending.
I mean, I thought it was going to hit it more. Like, I thought, like, because, like, that's the thing. This arc is still my favorite arc, even though these last two chapters just completely undercut it. But, like, well, not even completely. Like, they're just like, it's a very bitter aftertaste, but it's not one that makes the whole arc. It doesn't, like, it's still interesting. Yeah, I just, like, don't think, like, I feel like it just doesn't work. Pain just gives up and lacks resolve, and he was a good guy the whole time, and then he brings everyone back, completely undoing everything he did.
That's what really pushed it over the top for me, because, like, up to that point, like, I thought, at first, I was expecting, like, oh, he agrees with Naruto, and he changes, and that's a trademark of Naruto, so that's bad. But, like, here, I think it works. Like, at least I can understand how Pain comes to understand Naruto, how, like, I can kind of, I think, understand why he would overcome his pain, but at the same time, like you said, it is a little,
the fact that he did just makes me wonder why he didn't before. Like, if he could move past his pain, why did it take Naruto to do that? Yeah, like, a kid who's, like, just saying nonsense. Like,
Yeah, because what I really didn't like was that he undoes everything. He brings everyone back. That's where I feel like it went too far. Like I was talking about, I thought that there were certain, like, morally not ambiguous, but, like, more, like, there was some nuance in how this arc ended, and I think there could have definitely been more on Pain's behalf. Like, I mean, the fact that he does turn things around and he revives everyone is a big problem, because like, the thing with Naruto, like, his conclusion is that he kind of has to compromise. Well, not that he compromises on his beliefs, but, like, Naruto doesn't overcome his, or like he moves beyond his hatred, but he still hates. Like that is still with him.
Yes.
With Pain, that his parallel would be that he could maybe try to move beyond his pain, but like that pain should still be with him. So like he can't really do that. Like Naruto kind of has. That's why I don't know if compromise is the right word, but he kind of has to live with his like negative emotions, whereas like with Pain, like Pain needs to be able to compromise something to be able to kind of reach this conclusion, but the only thing that he really can compromise, or that the only thing he does compromise, is his pain, which is the backbone of his character. So yeah, it doesn't really work. And then of course, like if I like the idea of these two compromising on something, and I like the idea of like the end, because like throughout the arc there's like all this talk of like when you have Naruto confront the other guys who are trying to track down Pain, and he said he wants to do it alone. I liked the idea that so you are they like Shikaku and the other people, Inuichi and those older people, they talk about how Pain did all this stuff. He destroyed the village, he committed all these atrocities, and they're convinced that it cannot be solved by talking. But what I like is that it is resolved through like a conversation.
Yes. Well, that's the thing, because like Shonen's all about fighting, and then here you have like a climax of talking. That's
what I liked about the York arc, with how Kurapika kind of has to come to this compromise with the troop. Like he has to, there's an exchange that takes place rather than like it just ending in a climactic battle. And I like that here. It's just, it doesn't, because like I
like the idea more than the execution, which is very much Naruto-like, with like back with Gaara and just Kazekage, where it's like the idea is there, but it just doesn't work, and it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, because I really do think that this ending could be good. It just pushes it a little too, because like this arc was not a positive arc. Like the conclusions that the characters draw are not it's not a happy ending. Like things don't just magically be solved up until,
because they still don't know how to bring about that peace that Naruto that everyone wants.
Yes,
but
so it's not like a very conclusive conclusion, if you wanted to, I guess, say that. But like with Pain,
but then at the same time,
healing everybody, it like that goes against everything the arc had been building up to. This more ambiguity, this more like what's the word I'm looking for? Like it being sort of inconclusive. Like they still have to find a way, but Pain just heals everybody.
Yeah, well,
so
I think
there's still somebody who wins out in the end.
Well, it's like it's gray in the end, but the author is pointing at the gray and saying this is white, and we're like, but it's gray.
Mm-hmm.
It's white. Like maybe that's, I don't know. That was weird analogy.
No, but I kind of get what you're saying.
Analogy? Yeah. But because it's like, and I'm trying to think of what else to say. Because well, I guess the other thing is that like, because as a story, I feel like this because this is right before the war. Like, I like the idea, because from what I remember later, I like the idea of Naruto trying, because this is like talk no jutsu at its worst. Like with the Sai, I thought it was better because again, it wasn't Naruto's telling Sai things. Like with Chio, it was like, this is how it should work, and she's like, yeah, I agree. With Sai, it was like, this is how it is, and Sai's like, okay, I'm going to take things and add them, I connect with this, and I'm going to change my character based on my connection to Naruto. And with this, it's like, this is how it is, and it shouldn't be like that, and I don't know how it should be, and Pain's like, okay, like, I know how it should be, but like this is just, it's not good.
Because, because I do like the idea of Nagato seeing himself in Naruto, and that there is a connection there, but it takes it too over the top in one direction.
Yeah, he goes it from 100 back to 0, pretty much, and it's just, like, not even to like if Naruto's 0, he's like negative, he's like, like practically Jesus, like, just sacrificing himself for everyone's sin. No, that's a bit much, but but at the same time, this whole thing is a bit much with reviving everyone. And
because not only does it go against the finale of that, this idea of compromise, and it's, instead of compromising, it just he just gives up to Naruto.
Naruto's right. There's no compromise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But like it's going for compromise, but it doesn't work. And then like with healing everybody, you also undo, in a sense, like the tension that was built up. Like the big thing with this arc is that people die. Like there are casualties. The village is destroyed, but.
Well, yeah, because they even mentioned at the Sasuke Itachi stuff, like, if Uchiha and Konoha went to war, then that would weaken them and make them vulnerable to their, other villages. They would no longer be the top dog. And you have this basically happening, but nothing comes of it because the 5 Kage Summon is called, everyone works together, so there's no risk for Konoha, and everyone just comes back, like, even as, and so there's no real what's the consequence to the pain stuff, really?
Yeah, the village is just, like, the actual foundation of the village is destroyed, but all the people are fine, so...
And it's, like, completely irrelevant to the next arcs, like, because nothing takes place in Konoha. So they just, like, they're...
Yeah, the only thing it really accomplishes is that Tsunade is out of commission.
Right, for
actions that don't even really matter, because pain heals everybody. So it's like...
Yeah, exactly. You're making me dislike it even more by pointing some things out. Oh, God. So, yeah, it's like... And this is really, like, because I remember this, like... I've thought about the pain stuff for a while now, and it's a shame that rereading it didn't change my opinion, because... Back when these chapters were new, like, you should have seen, like, you think, like, 4chan, they hate everything. But after, like, the fucking awesome Naruto vs. Pain fight, they were like, Naruto is good again! Like, which is such a weird, like, I mean, because, again, idiots, they don't get the Sasuke Itachi stuff. Like, even Itachi had some problems, let's be honest. But, like, so they're like, Naruto's and anything weekly is shit. But then you have this moment, and it just, like, the balloon just deflates, and, oh, never mind. And... it's not good.
It's weird, because, like, I do really like this arc. It's one of my favorites, if not possibly my favorite. And I know when I was watching the anime, this arc was the one that stood out to me the most. Like I said earlier, the ending, which I don't really agree with.
I'm surprised that anything from... Yeah.
Like, the ending made me... Like, I actually teared up at the ending. Maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for the happy ending stuff. But, like, looking back on it now, the happy ending's not very good for this particular arc, but...
Okay, so this was the moment that made you get emotional before, but didn't this time?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But, like, even so, like, even we're pointing out all these flaws, but, like, looking back on their conversation and, like, the way the arc plays out, the emotions are still there. Like, it's still...
The conflict is interesting, the resolution, not so much. That's the issue, really.
And it's even, like, there are aspects of the resolution I like, but it's just... Yeah, it's not... Yeah. I guess it's not a perfect... It doesn't...
Yeah, but... And the other thing is, like, Conan is just there. Like, I'm trying to remember what she adds, and... She's just there. Like, she's like, she accepts like, she's just an extension of Nagato. She's just like, Nagato accepts Naruto, she's like, wait, don't die, and then he dies, and then she's like, okay, Naruto, here, I have a bouquet, I like you now. And it's like, okay, whatever. Like, what were you, I don't know. I don't see Conan as being any better than, like, Ino, or, well, that might be a bit too far.
I mean, she will,
I don't know.
I was about to say she'll have a moment later, but not really.
I know she's got the fight against Madra, but I don't remember much about the fight aside from that she used a lot of paper explosion tags. So okay, was there anything else about? Okay, oh yeah, and then we get another moment where the frogs are talking and more undercutting of past stuff where, because I was talking about, like, oh, maybe Jiraiya chose, there's still choice, it's not just fate. And then he's like, oh, both Jiraiya's disciples were children of prophecy. The prophecy was stupid, it didn't matter. Isn't that wonderful?
See, I was gonna say, what I did kind of like about it was that, like, at least the prophecy was like, well, it could be a child of destruction, or, like, they could bring great destruction or great peace. So, like, ultimately there was still, like a choice, like, what they came to the conclusion of quote unquote peace, but there was a
yeah.
But yeah, it's not.
But
great.
it's just so well, because it I don't know, it's just the whole prophecy thing is kind of dumb now, and it's done. Oh, then Naruto's still the chosen one, I guess. So
it's
maybe
a new prophecy.
We'll come back to it. But I just read that line. I'm just like, Kishimoto, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't know. It's just, the prophecy doesn't add a whole lot. I
feel
guess,
like
it's tension. It's more awkward tension. Like, oh, maybe Naruto will destroy the world, or maybe Nagato will destroy the world. But
see, I feel like we
whatever.
Like, especially towards the end, we might come off as overly negative here. But for me at least, I feel like I'm so passionate about the negatives in this arc because I think that the arc was like really good. Like, I did love this arc. It's just that, like
if, let's be honest, if the rest of the arc was bullshit, then this ending would just be more bullshit, and it would all just kind of blend together and be like, well, the ending sucked too. But, like, now, because the conflict was interesting, because the arc leading up to it was so good, it's that's why the ending just, it hurts. It doesn't hurt, but it feels bad. It feels really bad, because It fails where it needs. It's tuning exams all over again. It fails where it needed to succeed the most.
It's
So
like
it's
when
kind of
if
a
someone,
shame.
like if you have like a big cake and like you take a slice out of it and you have that slice and then someone just rips the cake away. It's like, no, but okay, maybe it's
It
a little
smells so
more than
good.
a little more than just a slice, because there were a lot of good tidbits with
It's
this
more
arc.
like you take a bite and instead of a sprinkle, it's like a pebble, and you just spit it out and move on. But it also ruined the experience of it. Like you think about the cake and it's just like, but that pebble,
that works.
you know. There, food analogy. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Like Jiraiya gets or Pain gets a little funeral, and Naruto, they could take Naruto back to village, and everyone loves Naruto. Hinata's fine. Everyone's fine. No one died. Damn it, I'm being too negative. I didn't mean to. I'm just bitter. Oh yeah, I guess the biggest part is because we already mentioned the Kumogakure ninjas coming in, and they're building up to the next arc. So I guess like that's pretty much all. Because the biggest thing is that we haven't left to talk about is Danzo, because he's like, well, Tsunade was Hokage and everything was shit. So we need a strong leader. I'll be a strong leader. He's just sort of like telling them what they need to know, what they feel like, and boom, Danzo's the sixth Hokage. I'm trying to think of if I have anything to say on this, aside from I think Danzo's evil.
See, I thought
is he the bad guy?
I thought it was kind of interesting how the head of the daimyo or whatever was like, oh yeah, Kakashi Hatake, that sounds like a good option, and then Danzo's just like, no, me, and then this other guy is like, yeah, well, Danzo, and then the daimyo's like, okay, Danzo.
Yeah, he rolls over. Yeah. So I'm because now I'm wondering about, because like I think is this our first time seeing the daimyo or of fire?
I think of the land of fire. I think this is the first time.
I mean, we might have seen him in passing, but I think this is the first time we really see him, and it's definitely like he definitely doesn't seem like he's not really characterized to be sort of like he does roll over pretty quick. He just seems kind of is foppish the right word? It feels like the right word. I don't know what it means, but it sounds right. Where did I learn that word?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you even spell that?
No, it's not. Foppish does maybe a bit. Okay, I googled it, and okay, maybe
flimsy. Maybe he's just kind of like,
oh,
I believe this one thing. Yeah, I'm okay. Like he just seems like he kind of goes with the flow.
Because daimyo, what position? Like he's the leader, but I don't think it's not an elected position, is it? It doesn't seem
like. Is it like a figurehead type deal or nah?
It feels like daimyo. I'm trying to remember. I don't watch or read enough stuff in the Warring States period. But daimyo is like, I think it's like just the leader of like a sort of country prefecture. But I think it's by blood. So in other words, he was raised in this position. I don't think daimyo is like an elected position. So I can see him not being, experienced in certain ways, just kind of like born in a silver spoon in his mouth. So, cause he definitely just, he just sort of like rolls over in like a page pretty much.
Yeah.
Danzo gives a little speech and, I'm older and more experienced. I can do it better than Kakashi, and he's like, okay. So, yeah. But, that's mostly build up into the next arc. So, I guess we're done pretty much. Like, I'm trying to think of anything else I have to say about the Pain arc. Great arc. Disappointing ending. Sasuke versus Itachi. Again, kind of interesting. I wasn't too big on the fight, but the actual the conversation and Sasuke's character. Yeah, this was a pretty good stretch of chapters.
Yeah, like I said, this was the most invested I've been in Naruto to this point. So yeah, I'd say these two arcs are probably like. Well, again, we kind of said that the heavy arc, we're just gonna call it the whole. You could call it Itachi Pursuit, but since the wiki already has their own little section on Itachi Pursuit, I feel like we need to distinguish it. But yeah, these were good arcs. They were good. It's just that it could be better, just like Naruto.
All right, so yeah, I guess we're done. Almost more than 3.5 hours. Not quite 4. A little surprised. Wait, is this the longest episode of the podcast?
Yep, this would be the longest episode.
Maybe.
I think even longer than the tuning exams. I think by a good bit.
Yeah, this is the longest episode. The next, as I expected. I guess I was a little presumptuous in thinking it'd be 4 hours, but it's still the longest episode thus far. And I'm not surprised. In the comments last time too. Honestly, comments next time are going to be pretty big. The next one is going to be pretty short because it's just going to be the Kage Summit. But after that's the war.
Yeah, that's the war. We're going to have a lot to...
I'm worried I don't know if we're gonna have a lot to say or a little to say, because if it's all like useless, pointless fights, then we're just gonna bring up the fight and, well, that was pointless, and then move on to the next and find something. Wait until something happens, basically.
Yep.
So, alright, but anyway, yeah, we'll look at, thanks you for listening as usual. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Bye.